Chapter 109. Ruglas and Arguros expressed their understanding. Even the men were so scared that their hearts were pounding. If the girls saw this scene, they would scream and faint. These girls were still freshmen, and had never seen such a cruel scene. They did not think that the girls could withstand it as well as them. Is it really that scary? Why don't you try it, Ting Feng? Tell me what you see after you try it. Pei Qing originally wanted to try it himself, but after seeing the change in the faces of the people, he changed his mind. He did not want to see anything disgusting. Why should I look? Why don't you look? Ting Feng shouted unhappily. He was not curious at all, so there was no need for him to look. Captain, why don't you take a look? Ting Yu carefully probed. Ajur calmly glanced at these people. Then let Skycliff pass the elixir back to him. After taking the elixir, Ajur nonchalantly sprayed it into his eyes twice. How is it? What do you see? Ting Yu and the other two asked curiously. It's all red, Ajur said with a strange expression. Even Ajur, who was prepared, was shocked by the scene. It was just as Fengwu said. Of course, he never doubted Fengwu. Fengwu Jr., this senior admires you. You can still calmly eat without vomiting after seeing such a scene. You really are an expert. Arguros looked at Fengwu with admiration. Ruglas nodded furiously at the side. Even Mingxi and Skycliff showed their approval in their eyes. Why can't I eat it? Fengwu girl expressed that the food tasted good and the barbecue was well done. Don't you think it stinks? Don't you feel like vomiting after eating in this environment? Ruglas asked. I don't think so. Fengwu shook her head seriously, indicating that the environment did not affect her. How could I not feel that way? This place is clearly... Arguros could not continue. Well, he regretted it. If he had known that he would see such a bloody scene, he would not have been the first to seek death. If you eat seriously when you eat, you won't feel any other taste. Fengwu thought for a moment and knitted her delicate brows. Eat seriously when you're eating? What kind of explanation was this? Everyone was silent. Why did they feel that this explanation was very profound? Is it really that disgusting? Let me try, Junior. Elena's curiosity was piqued. Elena had always been a tomboy. She loved to challenge things that even men were afraid of. After seeing the calm Mingxi and the indifferent Tianya change their expressions, Elena couldn't help but want to experience what it was like to frighten these two experts to the point that their expressions changed. Here you go. Ajur straightforwardly handed the bottle of elixir to Elena. After Elena received the bottle, she impatiently sprayed the elixir into her eyes. After blinking a few times to adapt to the elixir in her eyes, Elena boldly looked outside the inn. As expected, it was a sea of blood. The smell of blood was enough to make people vomit out the food they ate 2 days ago. It's really interesting. The tomboy Elena frowned and returned to normal. Senior Elena, did you see it too? Eve still didn't dare to believe it. After being rejected by Skycliff, although she didn't dare to pester that ice cube face of Skycliff, she was much bolder when facing Elena, who was also a girl. Elena's reputation had always been good among the girls. Although in the eyes of the boys, she was a tomboy, in the eyes of the girls, she was a senior who was willing to help others. When the girls met with problems that they couldn't solve, they would look for Elena. If she was able to solve it, she wouldn't be stingy. Thus, Elena's popularity had always been very high among the girls. That's right. This senior advises you to listen to Skycliff's words. Trust this senior. When you see what we see now, you might immediately scream and faint. You might not even want to eat anything for a few days. Although Elena didn't have a good impression of Eve, no matter what, she was still a girl. She still had to give her face. All right, Eve, just listen to your seniors. They're doing this for our sake. Be good. Sit down and eat. Zicheng gently comforted Eve. He didn't want Eve to go against the seniors at this time. This wouldn't be beneficial for the girls. If she wanted to enter the tomb of the gods, she still needed the help of these seniors. At this time, they definitely couldn't strangle their relationship. Irene just sat at the side and smiled. Seeing Zicheng comforting Eve, she sneered in her heart. You want to go to the tomb of the gods to get the divine weapon? You have to get my permission first. If you want to use the seniors to pave the way for you, then make good use of them. These people were all powerful experts. It was only with them that they could successfully enter the two-realm battlefield, and then enter the tomb of the gods. Princess Nana's people didn't know about the changes in the surroundings of the small hotel. After eating, the commander assigned people to guard the surroundings of the small hotel. He didn't let anyone suspicious that would harm the princess enter this small hotel. At this time, in a room on the second floor, Princess Nana had already changed into a light green dress. She wore a princess crown on her head. She looked exceptionally gorgeous. Princess Nana was originally a famous beauty in the Soya Empire. Her skin was like cream, her eyes were limpid, her brows were like distant mountains, and her lips were like red maple leaves. She also had a head of long hair that reached her hips. If she was born in the modern world, her hair could totally be used in a shampoo advertisement. Princess, do you want to eat something first? At this time, a red-clothed maid walked into the room with a plate of food. The boss had specially asked the kitchen to prepare this. Of course, the ingredients used were all brought by Princess Nana's people. The Princess Nana would never touch the food that ordinary people ate. Just leave it there. You and Mayor should go and change your clothes too. It's not good for your health to wear such revealing clothes. Princess Nai sat in front of the dressing mirror and casually brushed her hair with her hand. The red-clothed maid Xiao Na and Mayor thanked Princess Nana emotionally. Then, they quickly went to the room next door to change their clothes. Although it was summer, no normal person would like to wear revealing clothes. Xiao Na and Mayor naturally didn't like it either. However, without the princess's permission, they couldn't go down to change their clothes. Fortunately, the princess didn't forget about them. The two of them bowed to the princess, and then left the room where the princess was temporarily staying. They went to another room to change their clothes. Mayor and Xiao Na were both capable maids by the princess's side. They were naturally different from ordinary maids. Before the two of them went to change their clothes, a little maid had already brought in new clean clothes. Chapter 110. The two of them each took a set of clothes, took off their wet clothes, and changed into the clean clothes that had just been delivered. Xiao Na, don't you think there's something wrong with the princess? Mayor thought about it again and again, then took a deep breath and asked. Xiao Na's hand that was tidying up the clothes paused for a moment, then said as if nothing had happened. The princess is the princess. As maids, we only need to take good care of the princess. Other things are not for us to care about. But if... Mayor bit her lip and said with some reluctance. There's no if. We've already boarded the princess ship. There's no turning back. Don't think too much and do your job well. Xiao Na pulled her skirt and stepped out of the room where they changed their clothes. Mayor still wanted to say something, but in the end, all the unspoken words turned into a sigh, and then followed her out of the room. Xiao Na was right. No matter what they found, they could not spread it out. If it was spread out, they would die. At this time downstairs, Feng Wu and the others had already eaten their fill. Of course, those who were full were probably those who were mentally strong enough, or those who did not see anything at all. Most of the people who saw those scenes said that they could no longer eat anything, and that they wanted to vomit as soon as they ate. Xiao Wu, what do we do now? Tingyu's little heart was pounding in fear. Ever since she knew that this place was actually surrounded by a large pool of blood, Tingyu's heartbeat had not calmed down. We don't have a necromancer among us. This kind of situation should be handled by a necromancer. Arguros's face was a little pale, and he looked a little dispirited. It's too late. Necromancers are rare. Even if the Soya Empire has a necromancer, it's impossible for him to come here in such a short time. Mingxi's face looked calm, but deep worry could be seen in his eyes. Mingxi was a rare handsome man in the world. Now that he looked so worried, it made people feel sorry for him. They wished they could bring all the good things in front of him, just to ask him to show off his beauty. Xiao Wu, can you summon Liddy over? I remember that the necromancer gave Liddy some training methods before he left. Maybe she knows what's going on. Ajur thought for a few seconds and suddenly thought of the little undead who had been missing since they brought her back. Okay, I'll give it a try. Feng Wu nodded and tried to summon Liddy in her mind. Liddy was Feng Wu's contract spirit, and she had no strength. When Feng Wu needed her, She could summon her no matter where she was. Because both sides had signed an equal contract, if Fengwu wanted to successfully summon her contract spirit, she had to get the contract spirit's consent. It was not as binding as a master-servant contract. When she wanted to summon her contract spirit, regardless of whether the other party was willing or not, she could forcibly summon her contract spirit to her side. Who is Liddy? Elena asked on behalf of everyone. That's Xiaowu's contract spirit. Even if she can't help us, she should be able to explain the current situation. That way we'll know what to do. A juror said faintly. Everyone made an "oh" sound. They hadn't thought that Fengwu would actually have a contract spirit. Wasn't it said that only necromancers could contract spirits to fight for them? After a minute, behind Fengwu, everyone who had used the occult potion could see a burst of white smoke suddenly appear. Then, a cute little girl about 11 or 12 years old wearing white clothes suddenly appeared behind Fengwu. The little girl curiously looked left and right. After discovering that she was surrounded by a blood-red mist, her entire soul felt unwell. Heavens! Xiaowu, how could you summon me to such a dirty place? This place is full of resentment, it's dirty and smelly. The little girl's cute little mouth was full of complaints. Wow, what a cute spirit. I thought that spirits would all have a green face and fangs or bleed from all 7 orifices. I didn't think that spirits could be so cute. Ruglas propped up his chin with both hands and stared at Liddy with interest. Cute little girl, are you Liddy? You're so cute. Elena loved cute little girls the most. If it weren't for the fact that the little girl was a spirit and did not have a physical body for her to ravage, Liddy might have already buried her head in her chest and served her miserably. How you can see me? Liddy was surprised that so many people could see her, but she immediately came to a realization. So it's the occult potion, no wonder you can see me. Tell me, why did you call me here? I was having fun when you called me here, she pouted unhappily. As Fengwu was not an expert at telling stories, the group decided to let Arguros, who was good at talking, explain the situation to the little undead girl. You're saying that there's a scary big sister upstairs, who is being harassed by a lot of undead. The sky outside has turned red, the rain has turned into a bloody mist, and the whole house is covered in a bloody mist. That's it, right? Liddy simplified Ajigro's long speech into a few short sentences. That's right, that's it. Say, little girl Liddy, do you know what's going on? Why is it that we can only see the bloody rain outside after we sprayed the occult potion on it? Without the occult potion, we can't even smell anything, let alone see it. The group had a lot of doubts. Arguros finally found someone who could answer his doubts, so he could not wait to ask. Among the group, except for a few girls who had not sprayed the occult potion, the scene in the eyes of the boys and the 2 girls, Fengwu and Elena, was almost like Azura hell. It was said that the place where the Azuras lived was full of blood. The place they were in now was probably not much worse. Liddy rolled her eyes. During this period, Liddy had not been idle at all. Whenever she had time, she would work hard to cultivate her spiritual energy and read the book that the old magician had left for her. After a period of study, Liddy was no longer the little undead who did not know anything. Of course you can't see it. You can't be thinking that what you see now is a real bloody mist and bloody rain, right? Is it not? Everyone was puzzled as they looked at Liddy, who was looking down at them from above. Of course not. What you see now is just resentment formed by resentment. This resentment is full of killing intent, so it formed the bloody rain and bloody mist. In other words, these are not real, but just illusions formed by resentment? Skycliff raised his eyebrows. That's right. If it's true that everyone can see it, why would we need to spray the occult potion? Liddy looked at everyone in disdain. Chapter 111. Ming-Shi and the others all felt a faint sadness. The feeling of being despised by a little undead was really not good at all. Do you know why there is such a strong resentment? Ming-Shi asked. There are many reasons for resentment. How would I know which one it is? Liddy looked at Ming-Shi, who was speaking, and covered her face shyly. If undead could blush, her little face would definitely be red. Although I still can't see the reason for this resentment, I can see another thing. Liddy pretended to be mysterious and winked at Ming-Shi with a hint of flattery in her eyes. Rugla's and the others' mouths twitched slightly. Sure enough, like master, like spirit. The master liked Ming-Shi, and the contract spirit also seemed to be interested in Ming-Shi. Would the relationship between the master and the spirit break down because of Ming-Shi, and finally put on a wonderful drama of master and servant chasing the same man? Just as everyone was fantasizing in their hearts, a woman in green clothes and a curtain hat slowly walked down from the second floor. The whole hall suddenly quieted down. In this small inn, apart from the sound of the rain outside, it seemed that only the woman's footsteps could be heard. Leafman, the princess has ordered you to set off immediately to the town in front of us to rest. Xiao Na stood behind the princess and looked at Leafman as she said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. But princess, it's raining so heavily outside. It's too dangerous to travel in the rain. Leafman's duty was to protect Princess Nana. Now that the princess was going to do something dangerous, Leafman certainly wanted to stop it as soon as possible. This rain has been going on for a long time, and I don't know when it will stop. If it continues for a few days, do you want Her Royal Highness to stay in this broken inn all the time? Mayor smiled coldly. She was also a princess, and as a capable maid, Mayor would never lose her imposing manner in front of outsiders. Leafman still wanted to persuade him. Princess Nana finally spoke. Her voice was slightly cold, but it carried a natural charm. There's no need to say any more. This princess has already made up her mind. It doesn't matter what anyone says. Let's head to the town immediately. This princess must be a beauty. It's a pity that she's always wearing a veiled hat. It would be nice to see what she looks like. Arguros glanced at Princess Nana a few times. You won't be able to enjoy this beauty. I'm afraid that the changes in the surroundings of this small hotel have a lot to do with this Princess Nana. Elena smiled coldly. She didn't have the slightest good impression of Princess Nana. Because of the princess's insistence, Leafman had no choice but to order his soldiers to get ready. Not long after Princess Nana left, the entire sky began to clear up. This rain came and went without any warning, and it stopped just like that. See, there's indeed something wrong with Princess Nana. Elena had an expression of as expected. She looked provocatively at Arguros. Arguros could only shut his mouth and not say anything. Waiter, ask your boss to come over. Ming-Shi ignored Arguros and Elena. He waved his hand at a nearby waiter. That waiter was also quick-witted. He immediately ran to call the boss over. When the boss heard that there were guests who wanted to see him, he quickly walked over. When he saw Ming-Shi and the others, he was very polite. The boss opened an hotel not far from the two-realm battlefield, so he naturally had some eyesight. With one look, he knew that this group of people weren't ordinary people. Regardless of whether they were men or women, the temperament on their bodies wasn't something that ordinary people could possess. Adventurers, may I know why you've called me here? The boss was also a smart person. The moment Princess Nana left, these people called him over. It was likely that the question they wanted to ask was related to Princess Nana. That's right. We do have a question to ask you, boss. May I ask, how much do you know about Princess Nana? Ming-Shi's elegant jade-like face had a faint smile. It was very easy for people to feel good about him. In addition to his beautiful face, it was likely that it wouldn't be easy to find someone who disliked him in this world. Princess Nana is the youngest daughter of the current Emperor Suoya. Our Emperor Suoya has a total of 3 sons and 2 daughters. The 2 daughters are a pair of twins. One is Princess Chi-Chi, and the other is naturally Princess Nana. Princess Chi-Chi has shown great talent for magic since she was young. She is currently studying in the 2nd year of the Notre Dame du Starlight. Princess Nana doesn't have any talent for magic. She has also studied magic since she was young. Princess Nana is publicly recognized as the most untalented member of the imperial family. Although Princess Nana doesn't have any talent for magic, His Highness and the Queen didn't neglect her. Although they don't dote on her as much as they do Princess Chi-Chi, they still care about her. That means that Princess Nana is also quite pitiful. The most untalented princess of the imperial family. I'm afraid that her days won't be easy. Zicheng's eyes carried a trace of pity as he spoke. It really won't be easy. If it was easy, she wouldn't come to the two-realm battlefield to train every year. She hopes that she can increase her strength. The boss nodded and agreed with Zicheng's words. You're saying that Princess Nana comes to train every year? Irene asked. That's right. She comes every year. It's just that this year is special. This is her second time coming. The boss thought for a moment and said, Second time? When was the first time she came this year? Mingxi's brows furrowed slightly. He always felt a very unpleasant aura towards that Princess Nana, but he couldn't figure out what it was at the moment. About 4 months ago. The boss thought for a moment and replied. She came 4 months ago, and she's here again so soon. There must be a problem somewhere. Pei Biao played with his fingers. Something seemed to flash through the boss's eyes when he heard Pei Qing's words. Mingxi and the others naturally noticed that instant change in the boss. Boss, is there something that's hard to say? Mingxi looked at the boss with a warm gaze. This AI. I see that all of you are capable people. This was originally just my guess, but the town might be in trouble again. I have no choice but to ask for your help. The boss suddenly said after thinking it over. What do you mean, boss? Speak more clearly. Ajur said with a bit of impatience. He hated it the most when people spoke halfway. Wasn't that just trying to make him anxious? There's a small town not far ahead. The waiters and I all come from that small town. In the past few months, many strange things have happened in that small town. Many young girls have gotten pregnant before marriage. Those girls all said that they had never had an affair with anyone, but they suddenly became pregnant. This matter caused a huge commotion in our small town. Until one day, a girl couldn't stand the gossip and killed herself with a sword. However, something strange happened at that time. The girl wanted to kill herself, but she couldn't kill herself. No matter how many cuts she made on her body, her wounds would immediately heal. She couldn't die even if she wanted to. Chapter 112. Originally, the mayor had always thought that these young girls were unmarried and had illicit relations with men, resulting in the birth of a vile spawn. However, after the suicide of the young girl happened, the people in the town felt that something was amiss. The mayor and some elders believed that the young girls might have been attracted to a demonic creature, which is why they became pregnant. After all, the town is not far from the two-realm battlefield. It is absolutely possible that some demonic creature would come out. No, the two-realm battlefield has been sealed by a powerful being. Furthermore, those demons have long been dead. How could they possibly run out and cause trouble? Ruglaz interrupted the boss when he heard this. Listen to me slowly. Don't be anxious. Aren't I just about to say it? The boss rolled his eyes at him. Ruglaz obediently shut his mouth under the gloating gaze of Arguros. Everyone thought that the sudden pregnancy of the young girls must have something to do with those demons. Thus, the mayor went to the Magician's Guild and invited a Lord Magician to find the demon that harmed the young girls. However, the magician didn't find anything after looking around. He said that the young girls couldn't have been harmed by demons. They were probably unmarried and got pregnant because of their own indecency. The mayor told the magician about the young girl who committed suicide. The magician said that the young girl who committed suicide wouldn't die no matter what. It was probably because of her special physique or because she ate some kind of strange fruit. In any case, the magician just walked around the town and left. He didn't take any less money. Because of the magician's words, the people who were already shaken began to believe that it was really the fault of the young girls that they were impregnated by men. The young girls cried and cried, but no one believed in their innocence. In the end, the young girls were all locked up at home by their own families. They couldn't even take a step out of the house. Some parents even found abortion medicine to abort their children. However, it was useless. No matter how much abortion medicine they took, the children couldn't be aborted. The Princess Nana came to our town at the time when the matter was at its peak. The mayor was afraid that the princess would find out about those girls and have a bad opinion of our town. So he deliberately concealed the matter. Therefore, the princess didn't know about it. After the princess left, there were no more girls who suddenly got pregnant. I felt that something was wrong, so I specially went to the house of a good friend of mine. Unfortunately, my friend's daughter also encountered the same thing. I asked the child some questions and finally found the problem. The boss let out a long sigh, not knowing if he was feeling sorry for his friend's family. What is it? Tingyu looked at the boss curiously. Fengwu listened quietly, and even Liddy listened with great interest. While listening, she seemed to be thinking about something. It turns out that before those pregnant girls got pregnant, they all had a dream. In the dream, they went to a magnificent palace. In the palace, there lived a very beautiful prince. My little niece went on a date with that prince in the dream, and they had sex. At that time, my little niece only thought that it was a wet dream and didn't think much about it. It wasn't until she was pregnant that she realized that the dream wasn't simple. She started to feel afraid. During the period when the matter was blown up, my little niece also met other girls who were pregnant like her. After asking around, they all said that they met a handsome man in their dreams. When that man appeared in the girls' dreams, sometimes he said that he was a prince, sometimes he said that he was a noble. He also said that he was an ancient sword god. In short, in the mouths of those girls, that man's identity was all kinds of things, but all of them were noble and attractive. Did they all dream of the same person? Arguros touched his chin. An indescribable emotion flashed through the eyes of the others. Yes, it was the same person. My niece asked carefully, but it was the same person. The boss sighed. Strange, it's just a dream. How can I be pregnant? This is too unbelievable. Elena had been a tough girl since she was young. She dared to say anything to others. Boss, please continue. You said that after Princess Nai left, there were no more rumors of unmarried women getting pregnant in your town. Did you discover something? Although Mingxi believed that he knew a thing or two about the world's secrets, but something like getting pregnant in a dream was too unbelievable. He searched through his memories, but he couldn't remember seeing any similar records in the ancient books at home. I did discover something. The boss's expression changed. After thinking for a while, he decided to tell them what he discovered. After Princess Nana left, there were no more incidents in the town. At that time, I felt that it was strange and wanted to find out if the pregnancy of those girls was related to Princess Nana. I spent some money to hire freelance mercenaries and asked them to help me investigate if there were any rumors of unmarried girls getting pregnant. I didn't expect that I would really find out something. Ever since Princess Nai returned to the palace, nothing had happened in the capital on the surface. However, in secret, 3 ladies from aristocratic families had been found to be pregnant before marriage. The families of those ladies had wanted to secretly get rid of the children. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't get rid of the children. They couldn't even take the lives of their unborn children. This was only something that happened to those noble ladies. If we count those commoner girls, I'm afraid that there will be many victims. The boss was smart. From Princess Nai's behavior, he had realized some things. After a few months of investigation by the freelance mercenaries, he was finally able to confirm that there was something wrong with Princess Nai. He just didn't know if Princess Nana knew about that thing hiding in the dark. If she knew, then why did she do it? If she didn't know, then Princess Nana was another victim. Boss, you want us to help those girls in your town find that evil monster? Zicheng looked at the boss. He admired the boss's character. At the very least, he didn't sweep the snow in front of his door. Instead, he thought of a way to ask for help. That's right. What a monster. If I'm not wrong, he has always been by Princess Nana's side. As long as he follows Princess Nana, we will definitely be able to catch that monster. The boss chatted with Mingxi and the others for a while before leaving. Mingxi and the others were still discussing this matter. How was it? Liddy, did you think of anything after hearing what the boss said? Ajur turned to look at Liddy. The others also turned to look at her at the same time. After all, there wasn't a single necromancer among them. What happened this time was obviously related to the supernatural. Chapter 113. None of them knew about this kind of thing, so they could only count on the little ghost Liddy. This is very unusual. You have to go to that town as soon as possible. Otherwise, all the people in the town will die. Liddy's eyes darkened. Is it that serious? Skycliff raised his eyebrows. Yes, it is. This is very unusual. If you want to get involved, go there as soon as possible. If you don't want to get involved, I advise you to go as far away as possible. No one in that town will survive." Seeing that Liddy didn't look like she was joking, everyone's heart sank. They all knew that they were in big trouble this time. There are so many people in that town. As students of the Notre Dame du Starlight, how can we not care about the lives of those ordinary people? We have to get involved. Ruggles was so excited that he pounded the table with his fist, making the cups on the table jump. Ruggles is right. We can't just ignore it. The Notre Dame du Starlight will accept help from ordinary people. This time, we have to accept the boss's request. Mingxi nodded. Mingxi had already made up his mind to go to the town where the incident happened. In the Notre Dame du Starlight, besides guarding the gate, the guards were also responsible for receiving ordinary people. If there were any strange things that they couldn't solve in their homes, or if they found traces of magic beasts, they could go to the Notre Dame du Starlight for help. Solving problems that could only be solved by swordsmen and magicians was also a kind of training for the students of the Sacred Institute. Of course, the Notre Dame du Starlight wouldn't take a penny for doing this for ordinary people. Although the Notre Dame du Starlight didn't take money to help ordinary people, it didn't mean that the school would help with everything. If it was just a family matter, the teachers of the Sacred Institute would never agree to help. What was happening in this small town had obviously reached the level where the Sacred Academy had to take action. As students of the Sacred Academy, they had no reason to refuse. "Junior sisters, don't go. It's too dangerous this time. Stay here and wait." As a good senior who loved her juniors, Elena naturally didn't want anything to happen to these girls who had just entered the school. "Senior, I'll go with you guys. I'll take good care of myself, and won't create trouble for the seniors." Irene looked at Elena, using a resolute gaze to express her determination to go. "I'll go too. Seniors, please don't worry. I have some confidence in my own strength. I won't be a burden," Zicheng said with the same determined look in his eyes. "Then I want to go too. I want to be with Xiaocheng." Eve didn't want to be separated from Zicheng. Originally, she didn't want to go. It was just a dream and she got pregnant. That was too scary. If it wasn't because Zicheng wanted to go and it was just Eve alone, she definitely wouldn't mind staying here to watch over them. "I'll stay. My strength is too weak compared to the seniors. I don't want to distract them." Rika spoke up at this moment. Elena had thought that Rika would insist on following them. She didn't expect that Rika could see it clearly. What Rika said was right. No matter how strong the freshmen were, there was still a huge gap between them and the seniors. Even if Zicheng and Irene said that they would protect them and wouldn't be a burden, when the time came, how could they, as seniors, leave them in the lurch? Zicheng and Irene were still fine. Both of them had outstanding performances among the freshmen this year. Even if they couldn't compare to a juror, it wouldn't be a problem for them to get into the top 10 of the year. As for Eve, it would be good enough if she could get into the top 50 of the year, not to mention the others. If she wanted to go with them, she would just be cannon fodder and a burden. Elena and the others were a little displeased that Eve couldn't see through her own strength, and was still pestering them to the point that she was determined to go. They thought that Rika was also a muddle-headed person. They didn't expect that Rika would see things clearly and know what to say at this moment. Unlike Eve, who only had Zicheng in her eyes and didn't think about anything else. Irene saw Eve's performance and secretly frowned. She suddenly thought of something. When she read the novel before, she felt that Eve was abnormally good to Zicheng. It wasn't just Eve. Many people who liked Zicheng and had a favorability level of 100 were too impatient with Zicheng. She thought of the novel's description of the favorability system. As long as the favorability level reached 100, the favorability level would never decrease. In the past, she didn't think much of it, but now that she took a closer look, she realized that the favorability level would never decrease. Didn't that mean that as long as someone's favorability level for Zicheng reached 100, no matter what Zicheng did to them, they would forgive him? Maybe even if Zicheng stabbed them, they would be glad that they died in the hands of their good friend, loved one. She really didn't think about it. Thinking about it, so many people in the novel were willing to die for Zicheng. Was this normal? If it was only a man, it would be fine. It could be said that this guy loved Zicheng so much that he didn't even care about his life. However, Those who died for Zicheng included a few women. They were Zicheng's good friends. She remembered that in the novel, one of Zicheng's roommates knew that Zicheng needed a piece of rare ore. She actually snuck into her family's ancestral land and stole a piece of the family heirloom, a piece of meteorite, and gave it to Zicheng. Later, Zicheng's friend was chased out of the house because of this. That girl even said that she didn't regret doing this, and was willing to do anything for her good friend. The introduction of that girl in the novel also said that she was a pampered child of her family. That piece of rare ore had a mysterious power, and had always been the symbol of her family's glory. The girl knew this since she was young. However, for the sake of a good friend, she stole her family's treasure, and betrayed her entire family. If Zicheng was in danger at that time, and urgently needed this thing to save his life, it would make sense. At that time, Zicheng only needed that piece of meteorite to repair the divine weapon she brought out of the tomb of the gods. Although the ores that could repair divine weapons were rare in the world. However, to steal the family's treasure just to help a friend repair a divine weapon, it was believed that no noble girl who had been educated since she was young would do such a thing. This kind of symbolic treasure was unique to every family. As a noble girl who had been pampered since she was young, that girl's actions were too inconceivable. The strangest thing was that after that girl was chased out of the house, Zicheng said that it was all because of her. Therefore, in front of that girl, he swore that he would make that family regret driving her out. Chapter 114. Later on, Zicheng became more and more powerful. With a divine artifact in his hand, he ran to the family and severely injured the family's patriarch and elders. He even said that they were too cruel to the girl, and that they were inhumane. She was taking revenge for the girl they had driven away. Now that he had beaten them up, both sides didn't owe each other anything. When he saw this, he only felt that the family deserved it. But now that he thought about it, what did they do? Was it wrong to drive out a sinner who had betrayed the family? Moreover, they only drove the girl out and didn't destroy her magic source. This was already much better than the other sinners who had been driven out of the family. That family's love for the girl was very deep. Otherwise, the girl's betrayal would have been enough to put her to death. However, they didn't expect that a moment of pity would bring such a big hidden danger to the family. After Zicheng left after injuring the family's people, the family was suppressed by many forces. The ones who attacked were all the supporting male leads who admired Zicheng. Those supporting male leads didn't show any mercy. A good family was gone just like that. After the family lost their power, they were all killed. It could be said that their end was very miserable. Originally, the family's patriarch and several elders were rare experts. But because they were injured by Zicheng, their foundation was damaged. For a short period of time they couldn't fight with others. If it weren't for this, the family wouldn't have been destroyed so quickly. Zicheng didn't hide this matter from the girl. After the girl found out, she just said that she didn't have a family. The life and death of those people had nothing to do with her. Not only was she not sad, she was also secretly moved by everything that Zicheng had done for her. From then on, she became even more loyal. Was all of this normal? If the girl had been treated unfairly by the family since she was young, it was understandable that she didn't care about the life and death of the family. But she had been doted on since she was young. Which elder in the family didn't love and care for her? Even when she stole the family's treasure, they couldn't bear to kill her. Her family, who loved her so much, had died, but she was thanking the person who had indirectly harmed her family. If it was a normal person, no one would do such a thing. Irene was now certain that once the favorability value of the favorability system reached 100, that person's emotions would be affected by Zicheng. No matter what Zicheng did, those people would feel that it was right. This ability to manipulate people in the palm of his hand was too terrifying. Irene felt a chill run down her spine. Fortunately, she had read the book beforehand and knew the fate of the female lead's golden finger, and this body's original body. If she had transmigrated into this body without knowing anything, she might have developed feelings for the female lead. In that case, what was the difference between her and Eve, who could only live around Zicheng? While Irene's thoughts were spinning, the others were discussing the list of names for this trip to the town. After Rika said that she wouldn't go, she sat there quietly, not saying anything else. Rika wasn't Eve. Wherever Zicheng went, she would follow. A large part of the reason she hung out with Zicheng was that Zicheng was a good person. Rika liked her gentle, considerate, and kind personality. However, she didn't have any good feelings towards Eve. I'm not going either. My strength isn't that high, so I'll stay here and wait for news. Tingyu wrinkled her cute little nose. Although she really wanted to go and watch the show, in order not to be a burden, it was better for her to wait here. Eve, you should stay here too. With your strength, it'll be very dangerous to go rashly. Seeing that the other party was also a girl, Elena chose to persuade her. If it was a guy who didn't understand the situation, she would definitely use her iron sand palm on him. No, I must go. I won't be at ease if little Cheng goes alone. Eve held on to Zicheng's hand, her little face full of stubbornness and determination. Elena and the others were silent. Was she treating them as if they weren't human? Suddenly, they felt like beating someone up. Urgent, waiting online. Senior Elena, let Eve go. I'll definitely look after her, and won't let anything happen to her. Zicheng saw that Eve was so concerned about her, and she couldn't say no, so he could only say this to Elena. Pei Qing and Tingfeng exchanged glances. You'll look after her? When the time comes, I'm afraid you won't be able to protect yourself. Is there something wrong with this girl's brain? Senior Elena, if she wants to go, then let her go. When the time comes, we won't be blamed if anything happens to her. Pei Qing smiled like a fox. Don't worry, I can take care of myself. Eve glared hatefully at Pei Qing. She hated people who walked together with Fengwu from the bottom of her heart. There was a saying, hate the house, hate the crow. In the end, the people who would go to the small town together were decided. Other than Rika and Tingyu, everyone else would go. Fengwu was Liddy's master, so she definitely had to go. After reaching the small town, there would be many places where Liddy would be of use. This time, the boss threw caution to the wind and took the initiative to lead the way. Although the boss did business on the main road, his family still lived in the small town. According to Fengwu and the others, the small town was about to be flooded with blood. No matter what, the boss had to go and bring his family out. Behind the small inn, there was a carriage that the boss used to travel. This time, everyone got on the boss's carriage and headed to the small town together. An ordinary small carriage sped along the main road. There was a kind of deathly silence along the way. Even the usual sounds of insects and birds on both sides of the road couldn't be heard. Everyone's heart sank. They hoped that they could make it in time. After the carriage sped along for an hour, they finally arrived at the small town that the boss mentioned. Unexpectedly, the small town was very quiet. There were pedestrians bargaining and buying things on the street. There were also young mothers eating snacks on the street with their children. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't look like a big shot came to the small town. Not only Mingxi and the others were confused, but even the boss was confused. Logically speaking, Princess Nana's beast carriage should be faster than their small carriage. How did they get ahead of Princess Nana? Boss, go home now and take your family out of here. After Mingxi and the others entered the city, they immediately told the boss that this was what they had agreed on when they were in the carriage. The family members of the boss's servants were also here, and the boss had to take them all away. This workload was not to be underestimated. The boss nodded fiercely, then turned around and wanted to go home first and take the family members of his staff with him. Wait a minute. You can take anyone you want, but remember, you can't take those pregnant girls away. If you take them away, even if you escape with your family members, you won't be able to survive. Fengwu rarely said so much. Chapter 115. Of course, it wasn't Fengwu who said those words. It was Liddy who told Fengwu and asked Fengwu to pass it on to the boss. The boss, of course, agreed repeatedly. Then he drove the car in the direction of his home and disappeared around the corner at the fastest speed possible. Spray the occult potion on them. It's obviously useless, but they still followed us in. How can they help when they can't see their spirit bodies? Liddy wasn't polite at all when she ordered people around. Now that they had encountered a supernatural incident, it was Liddy's home ground. If they wanted to save people, they had to listen to Liddy's words. Speaking of which, this feeling wasn't bad. It was a pity that they probably wouldn't have the chance to enjoy this kind of treatment in the future. Everyone agreed with Liddy's words. Wasn't it a little too early for these juniors to want to clear a high-level dungeon? Zicheng and Irene were a little better. At the very least, they had a certain level of strength. As for Eve, she was a cynical and brain-damaged young lady. As the only senior present, Elena's job of communicating with the juniors naturally fell to her. She told them about the occult potion. Zicheng and Irene readily agreed to drip the occult potion. Eve, on the other hand, had an ugly expression on her face for a full minute. Then, with Zicheng's persuasion, she reluctantly dripped the occult potion. Eve's reluctance was naturally seen by everyone. Their impression of her dropped again. They just couldn't bring themselves to like Eve. When the three of them were done drinking the potion, the world in their eyes changed. It was clear that the sky was clear, and the sun was shining brightly. But now they could see that the blue sky had turned red. This red color was too abnormal. It made people feel depressed just looking at it. In addition to the red, they could also see streaks of black. These streaks of black constantly drifted around the town. When the three girls suddenly saw this scene that could make ordinary people faint, their faces immediately turned as white as paper. Zicheng and Irene were a little better. After all, they were both people with strong minds. What a joke! If they fainted from such a scene, they wouldn't have the qualifications to be the transmigrating female lead and the counterattacking female lead. Of the three girls, the one who was the most helpless was naturally Eve. She was so scared that her legs went soft, and she fell to the ground. She couldn't get up and she kept letting out ear-piercing screams. What's going on? Is this girl sick? Send her to the doctor. She's so sick, we can't delay her treatment. What's going on ahead? I don't know. I just got here. I also want to ask what happened. The townspeople who were attracted by Eve's screams surrounded Fengwu and the others and pointed at them. More and more people surrounded them, but Eve continued to scream without any awareness. Zicheng looked at the others awkwardly and quickly squatted beside Eve. She wanted to help her up. Most importantly, she couldn't let her scream anymore. Zicheng was a smart girl. She could already see that the seniors and Elena were getting more and more dissatisfied. Fengwu's people looked like they were going to make a fool of themselves. Irene, who she couldn't see through the most, looked like she didn't want to meddle in other people's business. Seeing everyone's reaction, she knew that if she didn't stop Eve, she would be angered by the seniors and the others. Zicheng thought that with her comforting, Eve would calm down quickly. She didn't expect Eve to continue screaming. She even pushed her best friend Zicheng away, as if she had seen a ghost. Zicheng didn't expect Eve to hit her, so Eve's push was very successful. Zicheng, who was as beautiful as a little fairy, was pushed to the ground by Eve and rolled half a circle. Her beautiful clothes were dirty in an instant. She looked less beautiful and more miserable. Eve, Zicheng frowned. She felt a little helpless at Eve's ignorance. At the same time, she was also a little angry. Ever since she came to this world, she hadn't been taken advantage of by anyone. She didn't expect that the first person to hurt her would be her best friend. Although she was already dissatisfied with Eve, Zicheng was the female lead. As a strong female lead, how could she let others see through her thoughts so easily? Therefore, to outsiders, they could only see that Zicheng was confused and worried about being pushed down by her best friend. This girl was really kind-hearted. She was pushed down, but she still cared about her friend. Some of the onlookers who didn't know the truth started to have a good impression of Zicheng, who was wholeheartedly trying to help her friend. Didn't she see that there were so many people around the screaming girl, but only the purple-haired girl wanted to help? The others, who looked like decent people, didn't even want to help a weak girl. You really couldn't judge a book by its cover. Mingxi, eye communication, what do we do now? Elena, peer communication, I don't know. Skycliff, arms crossed, I don't know these people. Ruglas and Arguros, I'm not online. Please leave a message if you have something to say. Tingfeng, Peiqing, Ajur. As seniors, why didn't you do anything? Fengwu girl, so noisy. After a round of eye contact, it was obvious that no one was good at dealing with the situation. In the end, Fengwu felt that Eve was too noisy. She walked over and pressed on her mute acupoint. The piercing scream stopped. Eve, who had been screaming, found that she couldn't make a sound. She stared at Fengwu in panic and hatred. Take her to take medicine. Master said to take medicine when sick. This girl must be sick. Look at how much pain she is screaming. Fengwu girl nodded seriously. Everyone, the world finally quieted down. Seeing that there was no more drama to watch, the crowd finally dispersed. Although the town wasn't big, there were many residents. There were at least a few dozen people surrounding them, but they all left in 2 minutes. Although there were still people who glanced in their direction from time to time, it was still better than being in a small town. However, compared to being surrounded by people just now, this was already quite good treatment. Everyone expressed that if this was all, they could still tolerate it. After everyone left, Eve was pulled into a small alley. After she was out of sight, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They regretted bringing Eve to this place. Fengwu, what did you do to Eve? Why can't she talk? After Eve lost her voice, she regained all her rationality. When she remembered that it was all thanks to Fengwu that she became like this, her eyes were filled with poison. From time to time, she wanted to kill Fengwu with her gaze. Chapter 116. Eve wanted to ask what Fengwu had done to her. But she couldn't make a sound, so naturally, she couldn't ask. She could only look at Zicheng for help. Zicheng was still very protective of his own people. Although he was already dissatisfied with Eve, he couldn't let others bully his own people. Thus, after receiving Eve's pleading gaze, Zicheng still helped Eve ask a question. Of course, when she asked, she didn't use an aggressive attitude. She just expressed her concern. There were others who were also curious about Fengwu's move. What kind of magic was this? She just touched a person's body and they couldn't move? Was there such a magic that could freeze a person's body? I sealed her acupoints. After 2 hours, it will automatically unseal. Fengwu glanced at Eve, ignoring her venomous gaze. It really was sealing her acupoints. Zicheng and Irene were both shocked by Fengwu's answer. Zicheng, Irene. Could it be that Fengwu was also a transmigrator? But in the modern world, they hadn't heard of anyone who knew how to seal acupoints. Although sealing acupoints was a necessary scene in all wuxia novels, it had never appeared in real life. The two people who originally suspected that Fengwu was a transmigrator hesitated. It seemed that they still had to find an opportunity to test her. The female lead and the supporting female almost simultaneously made this decision in their hearts. Can you undo it now? Zicheng already had some thoughts about Fengwu. But on the surface, others could only see her concern for her good friend from her face. It was impossible to guess that this girl's heart had already gone in circles. Yes. Fengwu nodded. Then, after thinking for a while, she added, but I'm afraid she'll scream. It's really noisy. Don't undo it. Otherwise, our Xiaowu will have to do it again. With her guts, I'm afraid that if something really happens, her throat will be broken from screaming. In order to not let her loud voice affect the rest of us, I personally suggest that we let her continue. What do you all think? Tingfeng didn't like Eve to begin with, especially the way she looked at Fengwu. It was as if she wanted to eat her alive. Now that there was a ready-made opportunity to mess with her, no matter what, she wouldn't let it go so easily. That's right. I'm a very sensitive person. If I hear her high-pitched scream in battle, it's very likely that it will affect my performance. This is a very big threat to my safety, so I agree with Tingfeng's suggestion. Pei Qing raised his hand and didn't want to fall behind. Ahem. Since everyone has agreed, then Junior Eve, you'll have to bear with it for a while. After 2 hours, you'll be able to speak again. It's fine. Although Elena was more tolerant towards girls, she didn't indulge them unconditionally. Eve's personality wasn't good, her temper was bad, and she had a lot of problems. Even Elena, who was tolerant towards girls, didn't like her. If she could make Eve calm down. Elena naturally didn't mind adding fuel to the fire. Senior. Zicheng wanted to persuade her again, but the others didn't give her the chance. They ignored Eve and began to discuss what to do next. Why is it like this again? What's so good about that Fengwu? Why are you all protecting her like this? She's just a commoner, a damned commoner. Eve's heart was screaming crazily. She hated Fengwu to the core. She was disliked twice by the team because of Fengwu. This woman was her nemesis. No matter how much Eve hated Fengwu, other than Zicheng, no one else would look at her. Mingxi and the others were all focused on discussing what to do next. At this moment, Aaron also noticed that the spirit named Lydia was actually a 12-year-old little girl. Moreover, she was a very cute little girl. It was quite pitiful for her to die at such a young age. After sympathizing a little with Liddy, Irene hurriedly cooperated with Elena to discuss what to do next. Let's go find those pregnant girls. I have something to confirm. In the end, it was still Liddy who made the decision. According to Mingxi's suggestion, they should inform the mayor and arrange for the commoners to leave this town as soon as possible. Unfortunately, this idea was rejected by Liddy. You can't go. Everyone's fate in this world is predetermined. Many people here are destined to die today. Even if you let them escape, they will meet Princess Nana and the others on the way. At that time, they will only die faster. Ever since Liddy learned some knowledge about spirit cultivation, she had a certain understanding of some of the fates of life and death in this world. She knew that fate was irreversible. The reason she saved the boss's family was because she saw that the boss's fate was profound and wouldn't die so easily. However, this town was shrouded in blood. The possibility of escaping was too small. Even if they escaped, they would enter another death trap. Mingxi and the others were still very unwilling. With so many lives, how could they not save them just like that? They couldn't bear to see so many innocent commoners die. Thus, Mingxi decided to split into two groups. One group would go find those pregnant girls, and the other group would go to the mayor's house to prepare to ask the mayor to evacuate the commoners. There were only two people going to the mayor's house. One was Mingxi, and the other was Elena. The others and Fengwu went to find the pregnant girls to understand what happened. After Mingxi and Elena left, the others immediately moved. Zicheng agreed with what Liddy had said just now. Because she could get a chance to transmigrate, this made her believe that there really was fate in this world. Irene was somewhat dissatisfied. She didn't believe in fate. Even if Zicheng was destined to be the female lead, she would definitely succeed in her counterattack. Similarly, even if the people in this town were destined to die, so what? Humans could conquer the heavens. She didn't believe that she couldn't go against the will of heaven. Irene's fighting spirit was high. She really wanted to see if this town could really survive with the help of Mingxi and the others. If the people in this town could be saved, did this also prove that her counterattack against the female lead would eventually succeed? The town wasn't big. After walking for about 10 minutes, they arrived at the first house. The daughter of this house was already more than 5 months pregnant. Although it was only 5 months, her belly was so big that it looked like she was 8 or 9 months pregnant. It made people tremble in fear. After the girl's mother heard that Fengwu and the others were adventurers, she immediately welcomed them in, as if she had seen hope. The girl's house was very old and dilapidated. It was obvious that the family situation was not very good. The girl who was brought out was only 18 years old, but her eyes were lifeless and lifeless. It was as if she was waiting for death. Chapter 117. Hello, we are the adventurers sent by the Adventurers Guild to help you. Could you please tell us what happened? Perhaps we can help your daughter. On the way here, Zicheng, who had the favorability system, was chosen as the person who asked the question because of her amiable image and her smooth way of handling things. Irene had no interest in the questioner at all. If it was an opportunity, she might be able to compete with Zicheng. But for the identity of the questioner, forget it. Irene expressed that she was not interested at all. The girl's mother wiped her tears and told Zicheng and the others everything that happened to her daughter. According to the mother, the girl suddenly became pregnant 5 months ago. After she became pregnant, her mental state was not good. She kept saying that she met the devil. She told her parents what happened in her dream. In the beginning, even her parents did not believe her. But that was normal. It was hard for any normal person to believe that it was just a dream. How could she suddenly become pregnant? After a series of events, many of the victims were found, and the parents naturally found that their daughters were not lying. If one or two of the girls said that, they could say that they were falsifying their testimonies. But if more than 10 of them said the same thing, it was impossible for them to have agreed beforehand. More than a dozen families had tried everything to save these children, but to no avail. Even the magicians they had hired at a high price were of no use. At the end of the story, the mother cried even more desperately. When she looked up again after crying, her eyes were frighteningly bright. Everyone could see that the mother had placed all her hopes on them. It was conceivable that if they failed, the mother would not be able to live on. "What are you doing?" The pregnant girl anxiously pulled her hand back. Because of her pregnancy, she had always been anxious, sensitive, and desperate. Even the slightest movement would scare her half to death. Zicheng and the others who were comforting the mother only noticed that Fengwu had unknowingly brought Liddy to the girl's side. The girl was very thin. She was so thin that she was out of shape. It was as if she was only left with a layer of skin and a big belly. Her mental state was very bad. She did not even have any energy left. Now that one of her hands was in Fengwu's hands, even struggling was very weak. "Xiaowu, what are you doing?" Ruglas asked in shock. Fengwu was usually well-behaved. Why did she suddenly raise her hand to a pregnant woman today? Ajur, Peiqing, and Tingfeng did not think so much. When they saw Fengwu grabbing the pregnant woman, they naturally wanted to help her. Sir Adventurer, why did you capture my daughter?" It was clear that the frightened mother could no longer speak properly. "She can still be saved," Fengwu suddenly said. "What?" The mother's eyes suddenly widened. Then she quickly said, "Are you serious, adventurer? Please save my daughter, please save her." "Can you really save me?" The girl's originally lifeless eyes had a glimmer of light. This glimmer of light represented the light of hope. "Don't move." Fengwu held the girl's hand. In a place where no one could see or hear, Fengwu was communicating with Xiaochun, who was in her dantian. Xiaochun generously let Fengwu guide a small part of his power into the girl's belly. When a faint white light suddenly appeared on Fengwu's fingertips, everyone present noticed it. However, no one asked. The most important thing now was to save the girl. Nothing else mattered. The white light followed Fengwu's fingers and entered the girl's body. The girl felt very comfortable. The cold that had been pestering her since she was pregnant had disappeared just like that. She had not felt so warm in a long time. The girl was so happy that she wanted to cry. She never knew that she was so easily satisfied. Just a trace of warmth made her want to cry. When the girl was about to cry with joy, she suddenly felt something flowing out of her lower body. When she looked down, her skirt was already wet with black blood. At the same time, her belly was shrinking little by little. "Oh my God. What's going on?" The girl's mother was so scared that she almost fainted. This scene was too scary. A woman who was so thin that only her bones were left. Her lower body was still bleeding black blood. This was the scene of a horror movie. Fortunately, other than Zicheng and Irene, no one present had seen what a horror movie looked like. "Mom, I'm fine. I'm finally fine. I can feel that the thing in my belly has finally left. It's finally not pestering me anymore." As soon as Fengwu's hand moved away, the girl immediately rushed into her mother's arms and cried like a child. It was as if she wanted to cry out all the grievances and fears of the past few months. After a small amount of black blood flowed out of the girl's belly, her belly finally returned to normal. The mother and daughter hugged each other and cried for a full 10 minutes. The girl's mother invited Fengwu and the others to eat. However, they had things to do, so they rejected the mother and daughter's kindness. "Something big is going to happen today. You'd better lock yourselves in the room and seal all the doors and windows. Don't stay outside. If it rains, don't come into contact with the rainwater. Otherwise, your life will be in danger." Fengwu conveyed the message that Liddy had asked her to convey word for word. She didn't even put in any personal feelings. It was as if she was reading a textbook. Fortunately, Fengwu had already shown her skills and saved the girl. Therefore, whether it was the girl who was almost killed or the girl's mother, they treated Fengwu's words as if they were gods. After asking for the location of the other families, Fengwu and the others immediately went to the nearest family. The next family was similar to the previous one. They were not well off. Fengwu and the others simply asked about the situation and told them not to go out and not to get caught in the rain. They didn't dare to delay and went to the next family. When they reached the third family, they were still a step too late. The girl was about to give birth. The girl's screams came one after another. Her screams were filled with pain and despair, but no one could save her. The girl's family stayed by her side. Unfortunately, the family's concern couldn't give the girl more strength. A few minutes later, the girl's belly split open like a watermelon. A black baby flew out from her belly. Perhaps because the resentment was too strong, even the girl's parents saw this vengeful spirit that shouldn't be seen by ordinary people. Chapter 118. What is this? Tingfeng couldn't help but exclaim. Don't scare me, I'm a coward. Pei Qing immediately hid behind a jur. He had never seen such a terrifying aura from a baby. It was too scary. The black baby was surrounded by resentment, and its blood-red eyes were full of resentment and murderous intent. Eve was so scared that she fell to the ground. Her hands subconsciously tightened around Zicheng's skirt. If it wasn't for the fact that her acupuncture points had not been unsealed, she would have screamed out loud. Take them away immediately, Arguros said to Ruglas with an ashen face. Ruglas nodded fiercely, and then quickly moved to the girl's parents' side. He grabbed one in each hand and wanted to rush out of the house. Unfortunately, the vengeful spirit did not want them to do as they wished. The small black vengeful spirit flew to the door like smoke and blocked the only way out. From the murderous intent in its eyes, it could be seen that the vengeful spirit did not intend to let any of them leave. Demon. It really is a demon. The girl's mother screamed, and then she lost consciousness. Damn it! Ruglas cursed under his breath. It seemed that it was impossible to take two ordinary people away. He let go of the fainted woman and handed her to her husband, and told him to take his wife and stand further away. Only then did he draw his magic staff and get into a battle stance with the vengeful spirit. The dead girl's father was a man, after all, and would not be so easily frightened. He hurriedly took his wife and hid behind everyone, not daring to reveal their bodies. Fengwu and the others could see that the couple had misunderstood and thought that the vengeful spirit was some kind of monster. However, now was not the time to argue. If it was a monster, then so be it. With the vengeful spirit's current state, it was not much different from a monster. Other than the powerless couple and Fengwu, everyone in the house took out their weapons and prepared for the upcoming battle. Let me do it, Skycliff whispered coldly, and then pulled out the long sword in his hand. A white sword aura flowed around the sword. The white sword aura seemed to carry an endless chill. The weather was not cold, but it made people feel as if it was winter. Sword intent? Among the people present, only Fengwu recognized what the white light was. The chill in the light was the sword intent of ice. Only when one's swordsmanship reached a certain level and had a strong perception could they have the opportunity to comprehend sword intent. To comprehend the sword intent of ice at Skycliff's age was really a genius among geniuses. The others did not know that Skycliff's sword intent. Except for Fengwu, Skycliff, and Tingfeng, the rest were either ordinary people or magicians. As for Tingfeng, with his current strength, it was impossible for him to possess his own sword intent. Even if he had heard of the concept of sword intent, there was no way he would be able to recognize someone else's sword intent. Fengwu was able to recognize it because she was also an expert who possessed sword intent in her previous life. Although Arguros and the others did not know that Skycliff used sword intent, they could feel the chill of the sword and the threatening momentum. They knew that this sword was not ordinary. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Tianya finally attacked with his sword. This sword attack was accompanied by a sky full of ice and snow. Snowflakes actually appeared in the room. It was very beautiful. However, each snowflake was filled with boundless killing intent. No matter how beautiful the sword attack was, it was not pleasing to the eyes. When the sword attacked the vengeful spirit did not dodge. It just floated in the air. The little vengeful spirit cried out twice, and its small body welcomed the long sword in Skycliff's hand. Just when everyone thought that the little vengeful spirit would definitely die under Skycliff's sword, something unexpected happened. Skycliff's long sword actually passed through the vengeful spirit's body. Instead, the little vengeful spirit's small palm, which was filled with boundless resentment, almost slapped Skycliff. No one would believe that the small palm had no lethality. If it really hit, even if it did not die, it would be seriously injured. What's going on? Why is it useless? Irene exclaimed. She did not expect that Skycliff's powerful sword could not hurt such a small thing. Because the things that happened in the town were not written in the novel. Irene had read a fragment of the novel that mentioned this town. However, as for what exactly happened in this town, even the author did not write it, let alone Irene. Now that something like a vengeful spirit appeared in the town, the first thing that came to Irene's mind was a Taoist priest and a talisman. Unfortunately, whether it was a person or an item, it was impossible for these two things to appear on this continent. On this continent, there were also people who specialized in dealing with spirits. They were necromancers. Although these necromancers' methods of dealing with spirits were not the same as those on Earth, they were still very useful. If she had known earlier, she would have definitely gotten a few necromancy magic books to study. Who would have thought that this vengeful spirit would be so difficult to deal with? Irene was not the only one who thought this way. Zicheng also regretted that he did not learn necromancy magic. If he had known that there would be a day when he would have to deal with the undead, he would definitely have used his favorability points to exchange for a necromancy magic book. Of course it's useless. What do you think the undead are? The attacks of you ordinary mages or sword masters cannot hurt us spirits. If you want to hurt a spirit, you either have to have a weapon that can hurt the soul, or you have to know necromancy magic. Your current magic is not a problem to deal with humans and other races, but it is impossible to deal with the undead. Liddy floated to the side of Fengwu and the others at this time, and said in a tone that was exasperated that they did not live up to her expectations. Liddy also did not expect these guys to be so stupid. Wasn't this problem obvious? If ordinary mages' magic could hurt the undead, then what was the use of necromancers? Were they just for show? After being despised by Liddy, everyone was silent. They really did not think of this point. If what Liddy said was true, then wouldn't they only be beaten up? Does this mean that we can only stand here and be beaten up? Zicheng frowned. Unfortunately, before Liddy could say anything, the baby vengeful spirit attacked everyone with a strong aura of resentment. Since they could not hit the vengeful spirit with their attacks, they could only dodge. However, it was useless to dodge. Eve, Zicheng, Irene, and Tingfeng, who were the weakest among them, were quickly hit by the baby vengeful spirit. This small slap was really powerful. The four of them fainted after a while. Their bodies were still emitting black aura of resentment. Although the aura of resentment was not as dense as the vengeful spirit, it still dyed their skin black. It looked as though they were poisoned. Chapter 119. Liddy, think of a way. Arguros yelled at Liddy while dodging the little ghost baby's flying kick. It was not easy. The ghost baby did not attack Liddy at all, perhaps because they were both spirits. Liddy simply stood aside and watched the show. Fengwu was also having an easy time. Fengwu received the least amount of attacks. The others were attacked 4 or 5 times, but she was only attacked once. She was really biased. Xiao Wu, be careful. See if there's any way to eliminate this spirit. Although Ajur's flames could not kill the undead, they could still restrain it. The second person that the little ghost rarely attacked was Ajur. Got it. Fengwu nodded and asked Liddy a few questions. Liddy and Fengwu had always had a good relationship. After answering Fengwu's questions, she obediently flew in the air and watched the show without any intention of helping. Fengwu pondered for a moment, then suddenly shouted at the few people who were busy dodging, "Get out of the way!" Although they did not know what Fengwu wanted to do, they still dodged to the side obediently, leaving a large space in the middle for the Fengwu girl to show off. Fengwu did not disappoint them. After everyone dodged, an ancient sword exuding an ancient aura appeared in Fengwu's hand. That's right, the sword was Xiaochun, who had not shown his face for a long time. Xiaochun was very happy to be able to come out and play. The sword hummed cheerfully from time to time, and did not hide its strangeness at all. Ajur's expression changed when he saw the sword, but he quickly returned to normal. The others also felt that the sword was very extraordinary, but they could not tell what was so extraordinary about it. On the other hand, the expert swordsman Tianya had some guesses about the sword, but he didn't say anything. He wasn't someone who liked to meddle in other people's business. He didn't have the time to pry into other people's secrets. Xiaochun's appearance made the originally arrogant vengeful spirit that was jumping around suddenly quiet down. Its small body began to tremble, as if it was very afraid of Xiaochun. Fengwu held the pure sword, and approached the vengeful spirit step by step. Unexpectedly, the little vengeful spirit was clearly trembling in fear, but it did not try to escape. This was too abnormal. Everyone was puzzled, but they did not ask. Fengwu walked to a place not far from the little vengeful spirit, and directly slashed at the little vengeful spirit. The little vengeful spirit instantly let out a shrill scream. The scream was very ear-piercing, as if it was going to shatter people's eardrums. The screams made everyone feel dizzy and flustered. Fortunately, the screams didn't last long. Everyone thought that the powerful vengeful spirit had been scattered, but they didn't expect that after the screams ended, the vengeful spirit was gone, and there was a normal baby spirit body. The little spirit body was normal white, and its eyes were a little confused, as if it did not understand why it had appeared here. Then, it seemed to have thought of something, and looked at Fengwu with a grateful and apologetic gaze, like a child who had done something wrong and was waiting to be scolded by the teacher. "It's okay. Be careful next time, and don't make a mistake again." Fengwu looked at the new little spirit body, and said with a gentle and serious gaze. The little spirit body nodded, and then it turned into a white light and disappeared. The spirit body disappeared, and the pure sword in Fengwu's hand also returned to Fengwu's body. The 6 people lying on the ground, including the owner and his wife, Irene, Zicheng, Eve and Tingfeng, all woke up. They were originally trapped by the vengeful spirit's vengeful energy, and that was why they fainted. After the little vengeful spirit was purified, the vengeful energy in their bodies naturally disappeared, and they woke up. "Thank you, adventurers, thank you. Thank you so much." After experiencing the tragic death of their beloved daughter, and almost being eaten, the pitiful couple seemed to have aged a few years. Even their vitality was gone. "You're welcome. Something big will happen outside later. Remember to hide in the house. No matter what you hear, don't come out. If it rains, don't come into contact with the rainwater, or your life will be in danger." Arguros repeated what he said in the previous 2 houses. They didn't have much time, and they didn't have that much time to stay in this place. The couple nodded repeatedly. Fengwu and the rest called out to the few people who had just woken up, and they didn't dare to delay any longer. They rushed to the next house to continue saving people. "What happened just now? Did you guys destroy that powerful vengeful spirit?" Tingfeng asked Pei Qing curiously about what happened just now. He only remembered that he was slapped by a despicable little vengeful spirit, and then his whole body turned cold. After that, he didn't know anything else. Who knew that when he regained consciousness, the battle was already over? He didn't even see anything, so why did it end just like that? Tingfeng couldn't take it anymore, and grabbed Pei Qing to ask him questions. "It wasn't destroyed. It should have reincarnated. You can ask Liddy about the details. I can't explain it clearly either. I didn't even understand it myself." Pei Qing glanced at him coldly. He flung his hair back and strode forward, ignoring the talkative Tingfeng. Tingfeng had no choice but to obediently ask Liddy about what happened. Those who had fainted weren't the only ones who were curious about what happened just now. Even those who were still standing wanted to know what was going on. Why did the vengeful spirit suddenly become better? Also, what happened to the vengeful spirit? Why was it in the girl's stomach? With so many questions, they all wanted Liddy to help them answer them. Actually, that vengeful spirit was originally an ordinary spiritual body. After we die, we become spiritual bodies and can reincarnate. As for where we reincarnate, we will naturally sense it when we reincarnate. When the time comes, even if we don't want to go, There will be a force that will pull us there. Of course, spiritual bodies like me don't need to reincarnate. In order to reincarnate, besides being a spiritual body, the spiritual body can't have any resentment. A spiritual body with resentment can't be reincarnated. Vengeful spirits are the spiritual bodies of babies. Some babies die not long after they are born due to various reasons, and some can't even wait to be born. They are deprived of the right to be born while they are still in their mother's body. Everyone listened to Liddy as they walked. It was the first time they heard that people could reincarnate after death. After all, necromancers were extremely mysterious. They couldn't just casually tell others what they knew. Chapter 120. Their souls are already full of resentment. As long as the resentment is not too deep, the resentment will slowly dissolve on its own. Once the resentment is dissolved, they can be reincarnated. Unfortunately, these little baby spirits were unlucky. Before the resentment was dissolved, they encountered these girls who were tricked. These girls were not pregnant at all. They were just injected with a trace of demon breath. This trace of demon breath will attract the baby spirits into the girls' bodies. After the baby spirits enter, they will think that they have been reincarnated and quietly wait for the moment of their birth in their mother's body. When they are born, they will find that they have been deceived. Not only did they not succeed in reincarnating, but they were also infected with demon breath. The baby spirits originally had resentment, and now they were infected with demon breath. It would be strange if they did not turn completely black. When the baby spirits completely turn into resentful spirits, the first thing they will do is to take revenge on their mother. This is because the fake mother tricked them into entering her body, so they were infected with demon breath and lost the chance to reincarnate. Wait, I have a question. Why would someone plant demon breath in the bodies of those girls? Is this good for that person? Arguros asked with interest. Of course it is good. Do you know how the so-called demon is born? Demons are born from the 7 emotions and 6 desires of human beings. Spirits full of strong resentment and hatred are the best tonic for demons. I only had some doubts at first, but now I can be sure that there is a powerful demon who is probably seriously injured. He used this method to create resentful spirits. As long as he eats those resentful spirits, his strength will slowly recover. At that time, there will be one more demon in the world. Wait, how come I heard that demons are formed by the gods? After divinity is contaminated, demons exist. So how can demons be formed by the 7 emotions and 6 desires of human beings? That's not right. Ruglas said and shook his head. Apparently, he did not agree with Liddy's statement. Are you a pig? You are talking about the ancient gods and demons. How can the low-level demons in the demon realm be transformed from gods? Do you think gods are cabbages? Liddy couldn't stand it and started to roar. I'm sorry, Liddy. This guy always flies at a low altitude in theory class. Don't worry about him. Go on, go on. Argyros quickly pulled Ruglas, who was confused about the situation, back to reality. Just tell him to pay attention in class. Look, he can't even figure out common sense questions and embarrass himself. Ruglas also knew that he had probably made a fool of himself this time, so he obediently allowed himself to be dragged away. Liddy, are you saying that the children in the wombs of the girls are actually the demon's food? Does that mean that the demon will come to town to look for the girls? Zicheng directly grasped the main point of the matter. Eve was so scared that she shrunk her neck and hid behind Zicheng's back. She didn't even dare to say a word. She was really scared this time. Yeah, it will definitely come. After waiting for so long, isn't it just waiting for the fruit to be harvested? Liddy said nonchalantly. After figuring out the truth of the girl's pregnancy, everyone's hearts didn't relax. Instead, they were even more nervous. A demon, and according to Liddy's words, this demon had a lot of tricks up its sleeves. This was going to be tricky. The few of them moved forward in silence. Everyone felt a little heavy in their hearts. They noticed that along the way, there were people rushing out with bags of various sizes. Even if they weren't rushing out, their doors and windows would be tightly shut. Everyone knew that Mingxi and Elena must have successfully gotten the mayor to agree to send the townspeople away. Sure enough, not long after, Mingxi and Elena returned to the group. The few of them exchanged their experiences. In fact, it was mainly Arguros who talked about what they encountered, especially the part where they dealt with the vengeful spirit. Just like that, the group visited a few families. They saved everyone they could, including the daughter of the innkeeper's good friend. The girl was lucky enough to meet a pair of good parents. The parents knew from their good friend that something big was going to happen, and that they might lose their lives. However, after hearing that they couldn't take their daughter away, the whole family decided to stay. They didn't want their daughter to die alone at home. Fortunately, the girl was saved thanks to Fengwu's arrival. The whole family hugged each other and cried bitterly. After telling them to close the doors and windows carefully and not get caught in the rain, the group continued to move on to the next house. Wait, it's going to rain soon. Fengwu suddenly stopped in her tracks. Is Princess Nana about to enter town? Ajur was indeed the person who understood Fengwu the best. He could guess what was going on with just one sentence from Fengwu. It's so slow. We don't even know which path the princess came from. We've been here for so long. Tingfeng wrinkled her nose. Stop talking. Let's find a place to hide from the rain. Mingxi ordered. Everyone found the nearest inn and walked in. This small town was very close to the two-realm battlefield. Every year, quite a number of adventurers would come to this town to rest. Thus, there were quite a few inns and restaurants in this small town. These were all used for adventurers and mercenaries. Not long after Fengwu and the others hid in the inn, a basin of heavy rain poured down. The sky darkened. Darkness descended. It was clearly daytime, but it was like night. In the eyes of Fengwu and the others, the world seemed to have turned red. Red rain, red sky, and black fog fluttered in the red sky from time to time. Mournful screams entered everyone's ears. It's Princess Nana. She's here. Elena clenched the sword in her hand tightly. In the heavy rain, the people who had planned to leave had no choice but to retreat into their houses and close their doors and windows. Most of the people outside were drenched in the rain. That was because they were close to home. They didn't mind. They went home and changed their clothes, preparing to leave immediately after the rain stopped. Unfortunately, they didn't know that most of them couldn't wait until that moment. This might be the last time they saw rain in their lives. Princess Nana had arrived in town. The mayor naturally had to personally welcome her. He personally sent the princess to the manor where the royal family was resting. Only then did the mayor leave with a large umbrella. Half an hour later, the rain stopped, and the sky was bright again. The people continued to pack their things and planned to leave the town to seek refuge. Not long ago, the mayor gathered the townspeople and told them something. Some adventurers said that something big was going to happen in this town, so they were going to seek refuge for a period of time. They would return after things had calmed down. Most of the townspeople were ordinary people. They didn't know magic, nor did they cultivate douqi. They were still very respectful to those powerful adventurers. After hearing the mayor's words, most of them decided to leave. Only a few people felt that they didn't want to leave their hometown, and didn't plan to seek refuge. Chapter 121. None of them would have thought that it was already too late to leave. The bloody massacre was about to begin. What do we do now? Eve anxiously pulled on Zicheng's sleeve. She regretted it. If she had known that this place was so dangerous, she would have chosen to rest at the inn like Rika. Just as she was thinking about this, another voice suddenly rang out in her heart. She couldn't leave Zicheng alone. Zicheng was her best friend. She had to protect Zicheng. Even if she had to sacrifice her own life, she had to protect him. This voice was incomparably firm. The little bit of unease in her heart was quickly replaced by that firm voice. Let's go guard Princess Nana's resting place. That demon is definitely by her side. Ajur said. Alright, we'll split into two groups. Half of us will guard Princess Nana, and the other half will continue saving those girls. Mingxi made his decision. Everyone expressed their agreement. Thus, Fengwu and the rest of the expert team went to continue saving those girls, while Mingxi led the majority of the team to guard Princess Nana. When it was raining, Liddy had said that this town was about to become chaotic. They didn't have much time left. The two groups split up. Mingxi led the majority of the team to guard Nana's manor, while Fengwu and Ajur went to look for the next victim. They only hoped that they could save a few more people in a short amount of time. Fortunately, the next house wasn't far from the inn where Fengwu and the rest were taking shelter from the rain. They had just reached the door of that house when they heard the sound of an argument coming from inside. "Let me go, Mom. I have to go find the princess. The princess is in danger. I have to go find her." A nasal cry came from inside the door. This voice sounded very young, no older than 20 years old. From the voice, it could be heard that the owner of this voice had been crying for a long time. Even his voice had changed. "Where else can you go? Now those people in town are looking at our family like they're looking at monsters. If you go out, those people's saliva will drown you. Why do you still care about the princess?" A middle-aged woman's exasperated voice sounded from inside the door. "I can't leave the princess alone. The princess has treated me well. No matter what, I have to find the princess and make things clear." The young man's voice was very firm. "No, I said no means no. If the princess knows the truth, do you think the princess will let you go? Will she let us go?" The woman's voice was filled with anger and fear. Fengwu, Ajur, and the others looked at each other and knocked on the door. Perhaps it was too noisy inside, but no one came to open the door. It was Ajur who knocked on the door a few times to attract the people inside. "Who are you people?" The person who opened the door was a middle-aged woman. The woman's face was a little old, but her clothes looked better than the people in front of her. The woman looked at Fengwu and the others with obvious suspicion and wariness in her eyes. Ajur and the others didn't think there was anything wrong with the woman's gaze. Before the people in front of them cured their daughters, they also looked at them with nervous and cautious eyes. Ever since their relatives were pregnant with this child, these families had been living under the criticism of others. There were even some extremists who would pour animal blood and feces in front of their doors. After a long time, these families were naturally wary and careful of outsiders. "Hello, we are people sent by the Adventurers Guild to help you." Pei Qing smiled warmly and took the initiative to take over the diplomatic work. "The Adventurers Guild? You are people sent by the Adventurers Guild? How come we didn't know that the mayor went to the Adventurers Guild to post a mission?" The woman still didn't believe it. Although the mayor of their town was a good person, he wouldn't pay for something like this out of his own pocket. For example, when they invited the magicians from the Magicians Guild, every family in the town paid for it, especially those with daughters. After all, no one knew which girl would be the next victim, so everyone paid for it. Of course, the ones who paid the most were the families who had already been persecuted. This time, she didn't hear anything, and didn't see the mayor send anyone to take the money. The mayor wasn't a selfless person who would sacrifice himself for others. It was impossible for her to believe that the mayor paid for it out of his own pocket, unless he was possessed. It's not a mission from the mayor, it's from the owner of a small hotel outside of town. He wants us to help the people in the town. We've already paid a visit to a few other families, and we've saved all the people we can. The children in their wombs have also been taken care of. Why don't you let us see your daughter first? The longer we wait, the more dangerous it will be." "It's him." The woman nodded. She was a little convinced now. She knew the owner of the small hotel, and he was a good person. He even took in children from poor families in the town to work in his hotel. In their town, the owner had always been a good person. "Please come in. I'll bring my daughter out now." After the woman believed it, she immediately opened the door and welcomed Fengwu and the others in. Fengwu and the others followed the woman into the courtyard. The courtyard was very clean, and the environment was very good. It could be seen that this family was at least a middle-class or upper-middle-class family in the town. If they didn't encounter the incident with her daughter, their lives would be better than most people in the town. The woman's daughter was brought out with a big belly. The woman called her Xiaolan. Xiaolan was a very beautiful girl. She didn't look very energetic, and her belly was already very big. If they had come a day or two later, this girl would have been like the daughter of the previous family. They couldn't save her. They helped Xiaolan purify the devil energy in her belly. Without the devil energy trapping the baby spirit, The baby spirit in Xiaolan's belly quickly flew out of Xiaolan's belly. After Xiaolan expelled the black blood in her body, her belly quickly flattened and gradually returned to its normal state. Xiaolan looked at her flat belly and cried until she was out of breath. With a plop, she knelt in front of Fengwu. "Adventurer, please save the princess. Princess Nana is in danger. Please save her." Xiaolan knelt on the ground and kowtowed desperately to Fengwu. Ajur and Pei Qing exchanged glances. It seemed that Xiaolan knew something. "Get up first, Miss Xiaolan. Can you tell us what's going on? We just met Princess Nana today. Isn't she fine? How can she be in danger?" Pei Qing gently pulled Xiaolan up. He was good-looking to begin with, and now he had purposely made his voice very gentle. Chapter 122. This gentle action and voice made Xiaolan blush. She even forgot to struggle as she was pulled up. "Xiaolan, take your time to tell the lords. I'll go get some water for you." Seeing that her daughter had recovered, the woman's mood improved. Only then did she realize that she hadn't poured water for the guests. After saying this, she left the living room to get some water. The few of them didn't care about the woman's departure. Right now, their attention was on Xiaolan. "Miss Xiaolan, do you know something?" Tingfeng heard Xiaolan's tone and knew that there was a story to hear. She seemed a little impatient. Xiaolan blushed. "Don't call me miss. I'm not a miss. Lords, just call me Xiaolan." After saying that, she smiled shyly. "All right, Xiaolan. Can you tell us what you know? What happened to Princess Nana? Just now at your doorstep, I heard you and your mother talking. It seems like something big happened to Princess Nana." Ajur also wanted to know what happened. In order to successfully get some useful information from Xiaolan, when he spoke, he deliberately made his voice sound more gentle. "Lords, please take a seat. Let's sit down and talk." Xiaolan invited Fengwu and the others to sit. At this time, Xiaolan's mother had just finished brewing the fruit tea. After pouring a cup of tea for each of them, Xiaolan's mother sat down beside Xiaolan. "I was born in this small town. When I was young, my family was very poor. We almost couldn't survive. My mother gave birth to a younger brother. In order to reduce the family's burden, I was sold to a rich family to be a servant. At that time, I was only 6 years old. I was very young. Many rich families didn't want to use such a young child. I was very lucky. At that time, the palace was planning to take in a group of young maids. I and a few other young children were very lucky to be chosen to enter the palace. Life in the palace was like heaven. Although we had to learn a lot of rules every day, we could eat our fill every day. We lived very happily. A year later, a girl called Xiao Na and I were assigned to Nana's side. We became Princess Nana's maids. The princess was very good. She took good care of us. From time to time, she would reward us. The princess rewards made our lives better and better. We built a house and opened a shop. My brother could also go to school to learn the things he liked. If it wasn't for my brother being bitten by a poisonous snake half a year ago, and me returning home to give him medicine, perhaps everything that happened later wouldn't have happened." Xiaolan cried as she spoke. Xiaolan's mother seemed to know something as well. Her tears kept flowing, and the atmosphere between the mother and daughter was very heavy. "Half a year ago, my brother was bitten by a poisonous snake. The town's doctors could only barely control the poison. They couldn't treat my brother's poison at all. In order to treat my brother, my mother asked someone to send a letter to me. After I begged the princess, I received a bottle of antidote. The princess was very good. She especially allowed me to leave and let me go back to give my brother medicine. With the medicine given by the princess, my brother's poison was quickly cured. Although my brother and I didn't see each other often, our relationship was very good. After he saw me, he said that he wanted me to accompany him for a few more days. So I stayed. On the third day after my brother was cured, a small group of mercenaries appeared in the town. They had just come out of the two-realm battlefield and obtained many good things. They set up a stall in the town to sell. I remembered that my brother was studying, so I spent 30 gold coins to buy a small sword for him. Although the sword came from the two-realm battlefield, it didn't have any spirituality. Because the materials used were not bad, it was still worth 30 gold coins. The night after I bought the small sword, I began to dream. I dreamed of a man. He was very good-looking. I had never seen such a good-looking person. He said that he was a prince from some ancient country. He fell in love with me at first sight and wanted me to be his princess. I grew up in the palace and have seen all 3 princes. How could a real prince fall in love with someone so casually? At that time, I only treated this dream as a joke. After that, I had the same dream for a few days. In the dream, he accompanied me to chat and play chess with me. He even taught me how to use a sword. He was very knowledgeable. Later, I gradually became attracted to him in the dream. One night, he said that he wanted to do it with me and I. Xiaolong couldn't continue. She gritted her teeth and continued. At that time, I didn't agree. I wasn't a casual girl. How could I do it with a man before marriage? But after a few days, his attitude became more and more intense. After I rejected him, he didn't appear for a whole month. I was very afraid that he would never come back. Finally, after a month he appeared again. I agreed and did it with him. At that time, I thought it was just a beautiful dream. But after I did it with him, he never appeared in my dream again. Not long after, I found out that I was pregnant. At that time, I only felt like a bolt from the blue. I clearly only had an erotic dream. How could I be pregnant? This is too inconceivable. It's too hard to believe. Xiaolong cried as she spoke. It was obvious that the memory was very unbearable to her. I was pregnant, so I naturally couldn't stay by the princess's side to serve. The palace has its own rules. I was also the princess's maid. If it was discovered that I was pregnant before marriage, it would only affect the princess's reputation. So I returned to the palace and told the princess that my mother had found a good marriage for me. I hoped that the princess could let me out of the palace to get married. The princess has always been good to me. She agreed to my request. Not only did she let me out of the palace, she also gave me a small box of jewelry as a dowry. The princess always thought that I was really going to get married. How could she know that I was afraid of implicating the princess because I had a scandal? So I had to leave her side. In order to find out what was wrong with my body, I saw a lot of doctors in the city. Those doctors all said that I was pregnant. But how could this be? I clearly didn't do anything. It was just a dream. Later, I went to see a priest and let the priest check my body. But the conclusion made me despair. I returned home in a daze. I didn't know what to do at all. At that time, I heard that there were several girls in the town who were pregnant. My matter was naturally known by the townspeople. The townspeople thought that our behavior was improper. We seduced a passing adventurer and got pregnant with a bastard. So many scandals happened in the village at the same time. Naturally, we girls were caught and locked in a room. The mayor asked us to confess our adulterers. But where did this adulterer come from? Chapter 123. We told the mayor about what happened to us, but none of the townspeople believed us. After talking to each other, I realized that the experiences of those girls were very similar to mine. We all got pregnant in our dreams, and the man in our dreams was the same person. As time passed, more and more girls were sent in. Until one day, a girl couldn't stand being pointed at anymore. She killed herself with a sword. At that time, the girls who were locked in the same room were scared to death. We all thought that the girl was dead for sure, but we didn't expect that not only did she not die, but the wounds on her body also healed quickly. It turned out that even death was an extravagant hope for us. We fell into even more despair. At that time, the townspeople finally realized that what happened to us wasn't simple. Everyone pooled their money together and hired a magician. Unfortunately, it was useless. No one could tell what was wrong with us. After that, the princess came. In order to prevent people from finding out that such a scandal had happened in the town, we were all taken back by our families and locked in our homes. I really wanted to see the princess, but how could I have the face to see her in this state? The princess didn't stay for long before she went to the two-realm battlefield to train. After the princess left, there were no more pregnant girls in the town. At that time, I realized that something was wrong. The man in my dreams might have left with the princess. When I met with the man in my dreams, I mentioned Princess Nana more than once. He seemed to be very interested in Princess Nana, and asked me many things about the princess. At that time, I shouldn't have told him. I was the one who harmed the princess. He must have pestered the princess. The more Xiaolan spoke, the more regretful she felt. She regretted it more than once. If she hadn't bought that little sword, then none of this would have happened. It was all her fault. She had brought disaster to this town. She had harmed so many pitiful girls in the town. And she had also harmed the Princess Nana who she was indebted to. You're saying that all of this started when you bought that little sword? Can you let us see that sword? Ajur said. I've been keeping that sword safe, thinking that one day it might come in handy in the guild. Wait for me, I'll be right back. Xiaolan wiped her tears and got up to go back to her room to get something. After a few minutes, Xiaolan came back with a wooden box. There was a lock on the box. After Xiaolan opened the box, a small black sword appeared in the wooden box. The small sword didn't have any energy fluctuations. It was obvious that it was an ordinary weapon that had lost its power. Aside from the fact that the materials used to make the sword were not bad, it was just like Xiaolan said. No matter how one looked at it, it was just an ordinary small sword. This isn't a normal sword. The material used to make this sword is the very rare soul-nurturing wood. The spirit lives in the soul-nurturing wood, and the spirit can be nurtured. It is a very precious divine wood. Just when everyone thought that it was just a normal little sword, Fengwu suddenly opened her mouth to speak. She recognized the material used to make this sword because when she was at Mount Yuehua, Fengwu had seen a sword made of soul-nurturing wood. That sword was much bigger than this one. Her master didn't have any other hobbies. His biggest hobby was to collect all the famous swords in the world, as well as swords made of rare materials. A sword made of soul-nurturing wood was very rare. If it wasn't for this, Fengwu's master wouldn't have placed the sword in his own hidden sword tower. Soul-nurturing wood? Is there such a thing in this world? How come I've never heard of it? Tingfeng shook her head. She searched every corner of her mind, but couldn't find any information about soul-nurturing wood. So that demon has always been living in the soul-nurturing wood? Ajur guessed. No, only the spirit can enter it. No matter if it's a human or a demon, as long as they have a physical body, they can't enter the soul-nurturing wood. Fengwu shook her head with a solemn face. So that's why that demon doesn't have a physical body. No wonder he wants to use this method to recover. It turns out that he doesn't even have a physical body. Pei Qing sneered. Can you give me this sword? Fengwu asked Xiaolan. Master saved Xiaolan. Xiaolan doesn't know how to repay you. Since Master likes this item, please take it. Xiaolan handed the little sword to Fengwu. Xiaolan has a request. Master, please agree. Xiaolan said with pleading eyes. I'll say it first. Ajur didn't agree right away. He wanted to hear what Xiaolan wanted. I have a letter here. I wanted to ask someone to give it to the princess, but because I couldn't leave home, I couldn't send the letter. This time, I want to ask for your help. Can you help me send the letter to the princess? If she could deliver the letter herself, Xiaolan wouldn't want to trouble others. However, she was no longer the princess's first-class maid. As the saying goes, the tea cools down when the person leaves. The princess already had a new person by her side. Xiao Na's relationship with her had never been good. She would only pretend to be harmonious in front of the princess. With Xiao Na blocking her, it was easier said than done to see the princess. This time, she finally met a few people with real ability. She only hoped that these people could help the princess. Okay. Ajur didn't think that her request would be so simple. He nodded and agreed. The subordinate told Xiaolan's family to close the doors and windows. No matter who came, they shouldn't open the door. They shouldn't run outside. The few of them left Xiaolan's house. The harvest this time was very big. No one would have thought that there was an insider living in the small town. Originally, the few of them wanted to go to another house to save people. But at this time, they heard a frightened scream from not far away. Save me. Murder. Save me. Crazy. These people have all gone crazy. Murder. Everyone run for your lives. Son, what are you doing? I'm your mother. How can you kill me? Dear, look at me. I'm your wife. What are you doing? Don't kill me. The small town was filled with the smell of blood. All kinds of screams, cries for help, and cries echoed throughout the small town. The small town that was originally peaceful suddenly became a purgatory on earth. Some people ran away. Some people were in a killing frenzy. They killed and chopped at anyone they saw. They didn't even let their own children go. They seemed to have lost their own consciousness. There was only killing left in their minds. What's going on? Ting Feng was shocked. This scene changed too quickly. Those people were drenched in the rain. Their minds have already been controlled by the resentment. Even if we save them, they won't be able to live. The little spirit Liddy said. Do you want to save them? Pei Qing asked. Other than Xiao Wu, none of you can save them. Liddy bluntly spat out. Couldn't the truth be said more tactfully? It's very hurtful, don't you know? Chapter 124. Under the watchful eyes of Ajur and the rest, Fengwu wielded her sword and unleashed a few streaks of sword qi. Those people who had gone on a killing spree fell to the ground one by one. Those who couldn't escape in time cried and thanked Fengwu before running back to their homes as fast as they could. Let's go and find Senior Mingxi and the rest first. Ajur frowned as he looked at the street filled with corpses. Along the way, they could hear screams, cries for help, screams and the cries of children. This place had turned from an ordinary town where everyone lived and worked peacefully into a massacre hell. Those people had lost their minds and only knew how to kill. Those who were killed by them would quickly get up and continue killing, until everyone around them was killed. Only then would the massacre stop. Fengwu and the rest saved many people as they walked. Those who were saved all hid in their homes and blocked the doors and windows. Even if they were saved temporarily, they didn't dare to relax. The paradise they lived in had turned into hell. As long as they were in this town, they wouldn't be safe. When Fengwu and the rest finally arrived at the manor where Princess Nana was temporarily staying, the manor was just like the town. It was filled with the stench of blood and slaughter. All around them were humans who had gone berserk. They didn't fear death and killed anyone they saw. More than half of Princess Nana's guards had been infected by resentment. Their minds had been controlled by resentment, and they had become zombies. Most of the people in the manor had died in the hands of those guards. When Ajur and the rest arrived, they saw Mingxi and the rest helping the guard commander Leafman deal with those humans who had been controlled by resentment. Princess Nana was hiding behind Leafman. Her two maids, Xiaona and Meyer, were protecting the princess. Although their faces were pale and they looked frightened, they still did their duty to protect Princess Nana. This was the first time Princess Nainai had revealed her face in front of others. Princess Nainai was indeed a great beauty. She had snow-white skin, deep-set eyes and sexy lips. No matter how one looked at her, she was a great beauty that could captivate one's soul. However, no one would want to admire her beauty at a time like this. Skycliff used a sword move with ice and snow sword intent, and immediately froze 3 people who were attacking him into ice pillars. Arguros desperately released wood magic. His contract's spiritual plant, the 7-star begonia, immediately turned into vines and tied up the enemies in front of him. Ruglas roared and stabbed his staff into the ground. Suddenly, a large number of boulders emerged from the ground and surrounded those mindless humans. Zicheng's 5 elemental magic was released. That magnificent and majestic magic dazzled the eyes of those who saw it. Irene's wood and fire elemental magic interchanged freely. With perfect coordination, she caused great damage to the enemies. Eve's wind elemental magic was also very proficient. At this critical moment of life and death, she didn't faint from fright. Instead, she tightly grasped the staff Zicheng gave her and continuously released wind elemental magic. No matter how powerful it was, at least those mindless guys couldn't do anything to her for a while. On the other hand, Elena was struggling. Although Elena was one of the best among the 5th years, she didn't understand sword intent. Physical attacks were useless against these monsters who didn't fear death and pain. Although her sword moves were very powerful, they couldn't cause any real damage to these monsters. The most relaxed should be Mingxi. He didn't disgrace his status as the 5th year's top student. He was obviously a student of the swordmaster department, but he didn't even pull out his sword. He just casually stretched out his finger and pointed at the people who were pointed at by his finger. They all froze in place and couldn't move. They could only let out unwilling roars. Because of the addition of Mingxi and the other experts, Leafman and the others didn't suffer any injuries and were considered safe for a while. Save me. Save me. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. A pregnant woman collapsed at the entrance of the manor. There seemed to be something in her stomach that was desperately trying to come out. The woman let out a cry of despair, as if she knew that her death was near. It's too late. I can't save you. Fengwu looked at the despairing woman in front of her and slowly walked up to her. After the last scream, the woman's stomach burst open and a black baby crawled out of her stomach. This was another ghost baby. The first thing the little ghost baby did after being born was not to kill Fengwu and the others, but to eat its mother's corpse. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, who would believe that such a small thing could eat an adult's body in a few bites? After eating its mother, its eyes became redder and redder, and its body became darker. The resentment on its body was so heavy that it almost materialized. Here and in several other places, the screams of women could be heard from time to time. Those women who couldn't be saved in time all gave birth prematurely, because of the resentment in the town. The moment they gave birth was naturally the moment they died. The newly born ghost baby soared into the sky and rushed towards Princess Nana's manor with a monstrous amount of resentment. The souls of the dead women flew out of their bodies. They had died too tragically and unjustly, so they wanted revenge. Princess Nana's manor was quickly surrounded by the souls of the dead women. They kept screaming, their voices were ear-piercing and filled with boundless hatred. It was as if they were going to rush in and tear Princess Nana to shreds in the next second. Why do they hate Princess Nana so much? Shouldn't they hate that demon? Ting Feng was a little confused. He thought that the first thing the girls would do was to seek revenge on the demon who had harmed them. That demon should have been hidden by Princess Nana. They can't find him, so they have to look for Princess Nana. Liddy explained, looking at the souls of the young girls with resentment. She had a feeling that she had returned to that cave. That place was also filled with a monstrous amount of blood and resentment. This feeling was not good. For a pure spiritual body like her, she didn't like places with strong resentment at all. It would make her feel very unsatisfied. Xiao Wu, I want to go back to the contract space. The smell here is too bad. I feel uncomfortable. After saying that, Liddy didn't wait for Fengwu to say anything and directly disappeared in front of Fengwu and the others. Fortunately, Fengwu and the others didn't have time to care about her. This place was filled with resentment and resentment. If they didn't deal with it soon, no one in the town would survive. Haha. Finally, it's time for me to fully recover my strength. A burst of wild and arrogant laughter suddenly rang out. Chapter 125. Everyone only felt a blur in front of their eyes. A black-clothed man wearing a black cloak appeared in front of everyone's eyes. They had to admit that this was really a handsome man. He had black hair and black eyes. His skin was very clear. He was extraordinarily handsome, and had a trace of devilish charm. Seeing this man appear, everyone guessed his identity. He was probably the one that the women saw in their dreams. Sure enough, after seeing the man appear, the women's wraiths could not be bothered with Princess Nana anymore. All of them wanted to fly over and attack the man. The man merely smiled coldly. He did not even look at those wraiths. Instead, his gaze landed on those little wraith babies. I've waited too long for this moment. As long as I eat you, I'll be able to regain my peak strength. By then, even the nobles of the Devil Realm won't be able to do anything to me. The man's eyes were filled with greed as he looked at the little wraith babies. Lei, you're finally here. When Princess Nana saw the man, she immediately ran into his arms, ignoring the two maids who were trying to stop her. The black-haired man called Ray hugged Princess Nai gently. My dear, will our child be born safely after you regain your strength? Princess Nai asked softly as she nestled in Ray's embrace, a little excited. Of course. Lei gently stroked the princess back. However, there was no gentleness in his eyes. There was only a bloodthirsty killing intent and a thirst for power. However, Princess Nana, who had been buried in the man's arms, did not notice these emotions. My little Nai, be good and wait at the side. After I'm done with these fellows, we'll talk properly. The man's pale lips kissed Princess Nai's forehead. Then he let go of her. Princess Nana obediently retreated to the side. She smiled shyly and proudly. Princess, how could you? Commander Leafman clearly did not expect Princess Nana to do this. He was completely dumbfounded. Why not? Lei is the man I love. His status is incomparably noble. We're the most compatible couple in the world. The princess completely ignored the disbelief and disapproval in Leafman's eyes. She only had expectations for her child and confidence and pride in her lover. Leafman looked at the Princess Nana in front of him. He didn't know when this princess had become so strange and incomprehensible to him. When he looked at Xiao Na and Mayer, their gazes were somewhat evasive. Leafman knew that they must have sensed something long ago, but they didn't say anything. Leafman knew that the two of them were maids of the princess, so they should be loyal to the princess. But such a big matter. The princess was pregnant before marriage, and even had an affair with a stranger. This was such a big scandal. How could the two of them not know that they were not helping the princess, but harming her by helping her hide this matter? No one cared about what Leafman was thinking. Now Ming-Shi and the others' attention were all focused on the man who had just appeared, and was called Lei by Princess Nana. Lei ignored Ming-Shi and the others. Instead, he grabbed a ghost baby that was attacking him and opened his mouth wide, wanting to swallow it directly. In your dreams? Ajur shouted. God of the Four Seasons, open my seal. Ajur opened his hands and looked up at the sky. A dazzling red light shone down from the sky. The red light seemed to contain an endless amount of qi. The beautiful red-haired young man looked solemn in the red light. A fiery red flame mark appeared on the young man's smooth forehead. When the red light disappeared, the fiery red flame mark appeared vivid and lifelike, causing the young man to be filled with a mysterious aura. Songyan! Ajur called out to the sky, and a fiery red staff came down from the sky as a response. It carried with it an aura of righteousness and landed in the young man's hand. You're actually the successor of the four god seals. The mark on your head is the seal of Xia, right? Back then, the god of the Four Seasons sent down the four god seals, and the four great divine artifacts. Only those who are chosen by the god seals can summon the divine artifacts to the lower realm. Lei's expression changed. Then he seemed to have thought of something and returned to normal. He even explained the power that Ajur had shown. It was unknown whether he was too confident or he was looking down on Ajur, who was not even 20 years old. The four god seals. Hearing Lei's words, most of the people realized that there was actually such an extraordinary person beside them. A person who had inherited the four god seals was destined to become a peerless expert. Even if he was still weak now, his future was destined to be incomparably brilliant. Pei Qing and Tingfeng thought, we're so lucky that our captain is the successor of the four god seals. We'll definitely live a good life if we follow him. If Ajur could hear their thoughts now, he would definitely laugh at them. Zicheng, Irene and Eve were really surprised. None of them expected that the young man who was so close to Fengwu was the successor of the four god seals. It was said that in ancient times the human world was very weak. The human world they lived in became the battlefield of other powerful worlds. Many innocent people died tragically in endless battles. At that time, there were two gods from the upper realm. They were originally insignificant humans in the human world, but because of their extraordinary talent, they eventually cultivated from the mortal body to the body of a god. In that battle, they saw their hometown being destroyed by the gods and demons of other worlds, because they were not strong enough. The two gods pleaded with the supreme god of the upper realm. They were willing to sacrifice their divine positions in exchange for the survival of the human world. The supreme god agreed to their request and sent down four gods who were born with the blood of the gods to be reincarnated in the human world. They were the future four emperors of heaven, earth, sun and moon. At that time, there were no four seasons in the human world. There were only two seasons, the rainy season and the dry season, which made it extremely difficult for humans to survive. So the two gods asked the god of the four seasons. The god of the four seasons was born as gods, but they were also merciful. The god of the four seasons sent down his divine power. Since then, there were 4 seasons in the human world, which greatly increased the chances of survival of humans. When the two gods chose to take off their divine bodies and go down to the human world, the god of the four seasons was grateful for their kindness and sent down the 4 god seals. The 4 god seals contain the power of the 4 seasons. Only humans who were most compatible with the aura of the 4 seasons could merge with the 4 god seals. After merging with the 4 god seals, they could use part of the power of the god of the 4 seasons. They could also summon the divine weapons of the god of the 4 seasons. These were all legends about the 4 god seals. The 2 gods in the legends were the Dean of the Notre Dame du Starlight and the Master of the Star Hall. Both Irene and Zicheng made up their minds to be on good terms with each other after knowing the identity of Ajur. This was especially true for Irene. She recalled the plot of Ajur, and later found that Ajur only appeared in 1 or 2 scenes in the book. Even if he did appear, it was only occasionally mentioned by the author. Chapter 126. Knowing that Ajur was not the male supporting character in the book, Irene was relieved. At the same time, she made up her mind to get along well with him. It would be best to destroy the relationship between him and Zicheng. She must not let the friendship between them reach 100. Otherwise, if Zicheng controlled a divine weapon owner, it would have a great impact on her future counterattack. Eve's mood fluctuated the most. She had always looked down on Fengwu and hated Fengwu to death. Now she found out that Fengwu's good friend was a successor of the 4 god seals. The successor of the 4 god seals would definitely enter the Star Hall in the future, and his status in the Star Hall was very high. If she knew that the person she hated had such a great friend, it would be strange if Eve was happy. Fengwu also had some understanding of the 4 god seals. This was thanks to the omnipotent library. The Fengwu girl often read books in the library. Although she knew what the 4 god seals were, Fengwu did not think too much about it. All of this had nothing to do with her. Fengwu just read it as a story. Even after knowing the identity of Ajur, she did not think that Ajur had one more hand or foot than her. The several seniors were much calmer. Because of Mingxi, they more or less had some guesses about the identity of Ajur, so they were not too surprised. However, Princess Nana and the others were the most surprised. They thought that he was just an ordinary adventurer, but they did not expect him to be a big shot. That kind of feeling was like meeting a beggar on the street, who knew that the beggar was actually the king of a country. Even if you are the successor of the 4 god seals, so what? If I see you in a few years, I will certainly have to run for my life. But you are still very weak now, and you have just inherited the god seals. Ray said confidently. You're wrong. If you see me now, you can only run for your life. Oh no, it's impossible for you to escape. Ajur stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, revealing a bloodthirsty and cruel smile. How arrogant. Ray snorted disdainfully. He waved his hands and took the lead to attack. 2 black balls of light appeared in his hands. The black balls of light, with a dark and decaying power, fiercely attacked Ajur. Now Ray no longer cared about the others. In his eyes, only the successor of the 4 god seals could be considered as his opponent. Glassfire, world incinerating. Ajur did not dodge. Just as the black ball of light was about to reach him, he suddenly started chanting. After he finished speaking, the staff in his hand emitted a dazzling red light. The red light carried an overwhelming righteous aura and rushed towards Ray. In the red light, the black ball of light did not even last for a breath of time before it disappeared into the air. Ray, who was also hit by the red light, was seriously injured and fell to the ground. Now she could finally give it to Princess Nana. Hearing Xiaolan's name, Princess Nana had a reaction. After all, she had taken care of her for so many years. She opened the letter with trembling hands. On the letter, Xiaolan wrote her own experience with an uneasy and desperate heart. After quietly reading it, Princess Nana directly tore the letter into pieces. No, this isn't true. Xiaolan is just a lowly servant. What does she know? She doesn't know anything. My Ray isn't a demon. He's the divine prince, the divine prince. Princess Nana shouted louder and louder. It seemed that she wanted to use this method to increase her confidence and make herself look more determined. Xiao Na and Mare didn't dare to approach Princess Nana now. They knew that the princess was finished. And they, who followed the princess, were also finished. Despair surrounded not only Princess Nana, but also the two of them. It's impossible for a human to have a child with a spirit. There's only a trace of demon breath in your stomach, and an infant spirit that was deceived by the demon breath. Fengwu stared at Princess Nana without blinking. She didn't understand why Princess Nana still didn't believe their words when the truth was so obvious. Chapter 127. Fengwu was a stubborn girl. She was a little unhappy that no one believed her. You're lying, you're all lying. You people who have blasphemed against the gods, you won't have a good ending. You definitely won't have a good ending. Princess Nai let out a crazy roar, and her originally beautiful face became extremely ferocious. Because she was too emotional, blue veins appeared on Princess Nana's forehead and the back of her hands. She seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Even at this time, she was still stubbornly unwilling to believe. Perhaps it was because once she believed, she would really be consigned to eternal damnation. You don't believe me? Will you believe me if I let you see your child with your own eyes? Fengwu had never encountered such a stubborn person before. She didn't know how to deal with the current situation. After thinking for a while, she finally thought of a way. Since Princess Nana insisted that her child was the son of God, then she would understand everything if she let her see the child, right? Fengwu's idea was very simple. However, when she said this, Princess Nana was stunned. She couldn't come back to her senses. She was only 4 months pregnant. The child was far from being born. She was asking her to see the child at this time. Could it be that she wanted to do something to her child? Thinking of this, Princess Nana's maternal instinct made her tightly protect her belly. She wanted to protect the product of her love with the person she loved. Fengwu teleported to Princess Nai's side in a blink of an eye. With a casual wave of her hand, the spiritual essence on Xiaochun's sword went straight into Princess Nai's belly. Princess Nana felt something flowing out between her legs. She looked down and saw that her dress had been dyed black by the black blood. Ah! Let go of me! What do you want to do to my child? You despicable peasant! Let go of this princess! Let go of this princess! Princess Nana screamed in panic. Like a madwoman, she used the hand that wasn't grabbed by Fengwu to tear Fengwu apart. Unfortunately, before Princess Nana's long fingernails could hurt Fengwu's face, Tingfeng and Peiqing grabbed them. Damn! Such long fingernails! If they cut Xiao Wu's face, she'll be disfigured. Tingfeng grabbed Princess Nana's waving hand and was shocked by the destructive long fingernails. Princess Nana screamed even louder. Commander Leafman saw it, but didn't stop her. Princess Nana's loss of power was a foregone conclusion. Most importantly, because of Princess Nana, most of his good brothers who had gone through fire and water with him were dead. This made Commander Leafman have a complicated feeling towards Princess Nana. There was hatred and helplessness. As for Xiao Na and Mayer, they were in a daze. They hid the fact that they were pregnant from the princess. The king would definitely sentence them to death. The two of them, who were already destined to die, didn't have the energy to care about Princess Nai. In fact, they even hated her a little. Couldn't she have just been a princess obediently? Why did she have to do something like this? It was fine if she died, but she had to drag them down with her. Princess Nana was a proud and self-abased person. In front of her own family, she always had a sense of inferiority. In front of others, she was prouder than anyone else. Even in front of her maids, she was always high and mighty. Although she was very generous to her maids, she was also very cruel. In the past, there was a maid who said that Princess Nana's talent wasn't as good as her brother and sisters, so she was killed by Princess Nana. As long as she heard that a maid in the palace spoke ill of her, no matter if it was true or false, she wouldn't let them go. No one knew better than her personal maids about Princess Nana's cruelty and heartlessness. Perhaps it was because of Princess Nana's cruelty that the people around her didn't dare to betray her. However, this kind of loyalty was also very insecure. As long as there came a day when her strength was no longer a threat to those under her, then betrayal by her subordinates would become a foregone conclusion. In the midst of Princess Nana's screams, a little thing with white light all over its body flew out of Princess Nana's belly. The little baby spirit no longer had any resentment. Probably because the devil spirit that created the resentment had been captured. The resentment that trapped the baby spirit in Princess Nana's belly disappeared. Ah! The little baby spirit flew out of Princess Nana's belly. After seeing Princess Nana, the confusion in its eyes at first turned into anger. The little baby spirit waved its little fist and wanted to chase after Princess Nana. Good girl, don't be angry. Be careful next time. Don't be deceived again. Fengwu gently rubbed the little baby spirit's little hand with her fingertips. Her voice was gentle and pleasant. The little baby spirit turned its head and knew that the girl in front of it, who made it feel very comfortable, had saved it. The little guy flew in front of Fengwu and kissed her on the cheek, as if to express its gratitude. What is this? Princess Nana fell to the ground. Her belly had returned to its flat state, but her blood-stained skirt still looked a little shocking. She stared at the little thing that flew out of her belly in disbelief. The little thing's whole body was covered in white light. Its body was transparent and had no sense of flesh. At a glance, one could tell that it couldn't be a human child. The little thing looked at her with hatred in its eyes. If the girl next to it hadn't been talking to it, she had no doubt that the little thing that came out of her belly would have flown over to hit her. Yes, it's in your stomach, but it's not your child. Just like I said, it's impossible for humans to have children with spirits. This little guy was tricked by the resentment in your stomach, so it took the initiative to enter your stomach. Later on, it was trapped by the resentment and couldn't get out. Fortunately, the demon spirit has been captured, and it's finally free. Fengwu touched the little guy's little face. Although the little thing didn't have a body, Fengwu still touched its little face. The little baby spirit and Fengwu were affectionate for a while. Originally, it wanted to deal with the bad woman who trapped it and avenge itself, but when it saw Fengwu shake her head, it reluctantly changed its mind. After all, she was its savior. The little guy gave Princess Nana a final glare, and then reluctantly said goodbye to Fengwu before flying away. No, this can't be true. How could this be? How could this be? Princess Nana looked as if she had aged several years in an instant. She muttered to herself like a crazy person, grabbing her head with both hands. She seemed to have gone crazy. She's quite pitiful. She was deceived by the demon spirit and ended up like this. Zicheng sighed, somewhat sympathetic to Princess Nana's bad experience. Chapter 128. I don't think she's pitiful at all. Other girls don't have a chance to escape from the demon's clutches, but she did. Yet, she chose to help that demon. Looking at her, it's obvious that she knew what the demon was doing. Not only did she not think of stopping it, but she also chose to pretend that she didn't know that the demon was hurting other girls for the sake of that demon, and the non-existent child in her belly. Perhaps, she even helped the demon to choose the targets. I've asked the boss about the few pregnant noble girls. They're all noble girls who don't get along well with Princess Nainai, or who have mocked her in secret. I don't believe that Princess Nana's luck would be so good. Every time the demon attacked someone she didn't like, I don't believe that she didn't add fuel to the fire. Irene looked at Princess Nana with disdain. She didn't think that a woman who was harmed by her own ambition deserved any sympathy. But no matter what, she's just a pitiful person. If she wasn't deceived by the demon, she wouldn't have ended up like this. She's already so miserable, let's not talk about her like that. Zicheng looked at Irene disapprovingly. That's right. How can you be so vicious? Princess Nana is just a pitiful person who was deceived. Why do you have to make her sound so terrible? As Zicheng's number one little sister, Eve naturally had to stand up for Zicheng at this time. Princess. Irene, Mingxi, and the others who were about to fight back suddenly heard Leafman let out a scream of horror. They turned to look at Princess Nana's direction. and found that she had killed herself with a long sword that had fallen on the ground. When Leafman found out, he wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Princess Nana closed her eyes forever and fell into a pool of blood. Xiaoqun. Fengwu didn't pay attention to Princess Nana after the little baby spirit left. Now it didn't matter whether Princess Nana believed it or not. She had already put all the evidence in front of Princess Nana. If she still didn't believe it, then Princess Nana must be like the kind of person who didn't believe anyone but herself. Master said that there was such a person in the world who didn't believe anyone but their own judgment and eyes. Even if all the evidence was put in front of them, they wouldn't believe it. Master said that this kind of person couldn't be reasoned with, so it was better not to waste words. After ignoring Princess Nana, Fengwu asked Xiaoqun to purify the resentment in the town that hadn't completely dissipated. The resentment of those who had died also needed to be purified. Otherwise, these people who had died in this town wouldn't be able to reincarnate, which was very pitiful. Xiaoqun went to purify the resentment in the town, while Leafman, Mingxi, and the others were shocked by Princess Nana's sudden suicide. Once Princess Nana died, no matter how big of a mistake she had made, it couldn't be blamed on her. They who had accompanied and served Princess Nana would become the first cannon fodder to be executed by the king. It seems that I'm going to die. Leafman had children at home, and his parents were still alive and well. Originally, if Princess Nana didn't die, he only needed to send Princess Nana back and explain to the king. He believed that even if the king punished him, he wouldn't take his life. However, it was different now. He failed to protect the princess, and the princess was lured by the devil soul. Now that the princess was dead, all these crimes would be placed on him. As long as he returned to the capital, he was afraid that he would die. Commander, don't worry. When we return to the capital, Mayor and I will take responsibility for everything. We won't implicate Sir. Xiao Na and Mayor were unexpectedly calm. What do you want? Liveman and the two girls had been together for a long time. If they didn't have something to ask of him, he didn't believe that the two girls would be so great that they would run out and admit his crime together with him. Sir, please help us take care of our families. If possible, please arrange for them to leave the capital. We have some savings over the years. Please help us hand them over to our families. That's all we want. If Sir agrees, Mayor and I will take the initiative to take responsibility for our crimes. We won't implicate Sir. Xiao Na and Mayor weren't good girls, but they had their own people. Since they couldn't escape death, they might as well use their own deaths to obtain the greatest benefits for their families. Leafman looked deeply at the two young girls, and finally nodded with a heavy heart. He knew that this was the best choice for everyone. Leafman easily guessed what the two girls were thinking. It was because he guessed it that his mood became even heavier. At the same time, in the faraway capital of the country, in different households, a few girls who were similarly pregnant and had listless eyes suddenly felt that something was wrong with their bodies. When they realized what was going on, they were so happy that they cried tears of joy. The belly that couldn't be removed no matter what they did had finally miscarried on its own. These girls were nobles and commoners. At this moment, they all cried with joy. They could finally see their future again. During this period of time, because of this belly, they felt like they had become monsters that couldn't die. That feeling was too terrifying. Now everything was fine. They had a new life. When the first ray of sunlight shone on the earth the next morning, Fengwu and the others left the small town and slowly walked towards the small inn. More than half of the people in the small town died. Fortunately, the mayor was still alive. At least there was someone to take charge of the situation. As for the girls that were saved by Fengwu and their families, they didn't suffer any injuries in this disaster. They listened to Fengwu's words and locked the doors and windows. No matter what happened, they didn't open the doors and windows. That was how they escaped the disaster. On the other hand, Liveman took the surviving members of the princess's guards, as well as the corpses of Princess Nainai and the other members of the princess's guards, and set off. He still had to go back and report to the king. There must be an explanation for the princess's death. This was something he couldn't escape from. Fortunately, with Xiao Na and Mayor's confession, Leafman himself wouldn't receive too severe a punishment. At most he would be demoted. This was considered a great fortune amidst the misfortune. When Leafman left, Mingxi tore off the page of the Book of Seals with the demon soul imprinted on it, and handed it to Leafman. He asked Leafman to bring it back and report to the tribunal to take the demon soul away for the final trial of the demon soul's crimes. Only a day had passed since they returned to this somewhat old inn, but everyone felt like a long time had passed. When they saw Rika and Tingyu, they felt much closer. Chapter 129. I've never thought that I would feel so close to you one day. This was the first thing Tingfeng said to Tingyu after seeing her. As expected, in the next 10 minutes, Tingfeng's situation was so bad that she was chased and beaten by her own younger sister. When the boss saw that they had returned safely, he knew that many people had died in the town. However, now that the problem had been resolved, he was both sad and relieved. In order to thank Mingxi and the others for their help to the town, the boss said that as long as they stayed in the inn in the future, they would be free of charge as a reward for their help this time. They did not reject the boss's good intentions, especially Fengwu, who had no resistance to the word free. Everyone stayed in the boss's inn and rested for the whole day. The next morning, they set off for the Two-Realm battlefield. The Two-Realm battlefield was the place where the gods and demons fought in the ancient times. There were countless skeletons of gods and demons buried here, as well as many weapons used by gods and demons. Probably because it had been tainted with the blood of gods and demons, spirit fruits that were rarely seen in other places grew in the Two-Realm battlefield. For example, there were fruits that could increase one's affinity with elements, fruits that could increase one's spiritual power, fruits that could expand one's veins and make them tougher after eating them, and many other fruits that had many wonderful uses grew here. However, the places where they grew were places that humans could not set foot on. Other than these spirit fruits that were helpful to humans, there were also many plants that had been tainted with demonic nature. These plants were very harmful to humans. Furthermore, they did not look like demonic fruits at all. Once someone ate them by mistake, it would only be a matter of minutes before they turned into a demon. It was still alright if they only turned into a demon. At most, they would go to the demon realm to mingle in the future. Worse, they would be turned into a half-human half-demon by the power of the demonic fruit. When that time came, they would not be able to stay in the human world, and the demon realm would not accept them. They would really have nowhere to go. Some people were even more unlucky. Those people did not even have the chance to become half-human half-demon. They exploded and died from the power of the demonic fruit. After they died, their spiritual bodies would be tainted by demonic aura, turning them into mindless killing machines that only wanted to kill every intruder that entered the Two-Realm battlefield. People called those people undead. Before entering the Two-Realm battlefield, if one had done some research on the Two-Realm battlefield, they would know that the most dangerous things in the Two-Realm battlefield were those devil plants and the undead army. These two things were simply every adventurer's nightmare. If they were not careful, they could become the next undead at any time. Elena popularized this knowledge to these junior brothers and sisters while they were on their way. After traveling for an entire day, they finally arrived outside a valley. Legend had it that this valley was completely formed from the corpses of gods and demons. This valley was located in the Two-Realm battlefield, which was also the battlefield of gods and demons. Irene, aren't you going to dig for magic crystals? Why are you still following us? Eve glanced at Irene. I feel safer with everyone together. Actually, it's the same whether we dig for magic crystals or go to the Two-Realm battlefield, Irene said indifferently. Irene, don't run around when we go in, okay? Follow us closely. Elena still had a good impression of Irene. At the very least, she was not as muddle-headed as Eve. Okay. Irene's reply was crisp and clear. Senior Elena, you guys can go in and train yourselves. Don't worry about us. We can protect ourselves. Ajur did not want Elena and the others to miss out on their training because of these new students. Forget it, it's fine. It's good for everyone to move together. If we really split up, we'll definitely have to constantly worry about whether or not you guys have already become the undead here. The icy Skycliff spoke. His tone was so cold that it made people want to wear more clothes. The few of them stopped talking and entered the valley together. There were many demonic plants that had mutated due to demonic chi growing in this valley. These demonic plants were very aggressive. Aside from demonic plants and spiritual plants, no ordinary plants could grow in this place. There were even fewer animals. In the two-realm battlefield, the last thing to worry about was encountering demonic beasts. It was impossible for any demonic beasts to survive here. There were also people who said that they had seen legendary divine beasts here. However, legends were just legends. No one knew if they were true or not. The plants in the valley grew very strangely. The trees grew very tall. The shortest tree was more than 10 meters tall. It was impossible to find a shorter tree. They were still at the periphery of the valley. There was no need to worry about encountering the undead army. The undead would not move around near the valley entrance. After entering the valley, the people from the Mingxi team did not walk very fast because they were worried that Feng Wu and the others were here for the first time. As they walked, they explained the characteristics of each plant, whether they would attack people, and what to be careful of. After walking for a while, other than encountering the attacks of a few mutated plants, they did not encounter any danger. At night, they found a place with better concealment. After scattering some medicinal powder, they set up camp there and prepared to rest for the night. Seniors, I have something to tell you. After taking a deep breath, Zicheng made up his mind to tell them about the tomb of the god of sin. After observing them for a while, Zicheng knew that these seniors had good characters. At the very least, they would definitely not do things like killing people and snatching their treasures. Moreover, there was a successor of the 4 god seals beside them. Every successor of the 4 god seals must have an upright heart. If it was someone with evil thoughts, it would be impossible for them to be recognized by the 4 god seals. It was because of Ajur's existence that Zicheng was not so hesitant to tell them about the tomb of the god of sin. Originally, Zicheng's original plan was to let Elena and the others bring her to the tomb of the god of sin after entering the two-realm battlefield. Although they could reach the tomb of the god of sin that way, it would take too much time. Moreover, they would have to hide their true purpose along the way. That would be too tiring. Although it would be safer, it would take too much time. Zicheng did not really want to take that step. After thinking about it again and again, she decided to tell them about the tomb of the god of sin, and invite everyone to explore the tomb of the god of sin together. When the time came, she would have the help of the favorability system and would definitely be able to find the divine weapon before them. This way, she would not lose anything. Moreover, there would be a person with the 4 god seals going with them. With such a person accompanying them, at the very least, she would not have to worry about being ambushed by her companions. When Zicheng told them about how he found a small metal piece on the street, and how he found the tomb of the god of sin in the metal piece, Irene's heart was very unsettled. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.